welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. Back at it with the very first set of horoscopes for 2023. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Happy New Year. Make sure you click the button below and you're subscribed so you know when we're coming out with new content on the channel. Putting out videos a couple days a week. We've got astro weather on Sundays. We've got live readings on Saturdays, full and new moon reports, and much, much more. There's a lot of change happening right now. I'm really excited to dive into January and talk to you guys about what I see coming. As always, I appreciate your likes, your comments, your shares, your donations, and your subscriptions to my channel. You guys make it possible for me to keep doing what I'm doing. We have seen so much growth in the last year. I'm so excited that I came back. Actually, February is going to mark a full year of me doing these horoscopes, just taking a look at how it's grown over the last year. I can't believe we got over 18,000 views on the November and December horoscopes. So crazy. So I'd like to see this keep going. And as always, if you guys like my content and you want to book a reading with me, you can check out the links below by going to my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. I do have one-on-one personal sessions live on Zoom that are recorded, all different types of offerings, and it's a combination of Western astrology, tarot, and also clairvoyant readings. Hopefully you guys dig that and you want to check that out. But without further ado, let's get into January of 2023. I had to get used to saying that. A little bit of a different setup here, guys. If you notice, maybe my room is like flip-flopped. I just recently moved out of state, so it's been kind of wild getting everything set up and ready to go for the new year. But yeah, I'm excited to have this new setup. So if you see me looking over here, I'm looking at my notes. So offerings for the month, okay? So in the month of January, first things first, I am announcing that I'm going to be having the Astrology of 2023 webinar. I'm going to be doing a full presentation on some of the biggest aspects of the astrology of this next year, what I anticipate. I already did a little bit of a preview on this, but this is going to go more in depth. We're also going to take a look at the eclipses along with predictions for each and every one of the 12 signs. We've got some major planetary ingresses taking place. Pluto's going into Aquarius. We're also going to see Saturn go into Pisces. The spring of 2023 is quite active, very different energy. I hope you join me. This is going to be on New Year's Day, January 1st, 2023. I'm going to be releasing this link pretty soon, so you guys can take a look at that and hopefully join me for my live discussion. We've also got my astrological calendar for 2023 that is out. We put it out a couple of months ago. It's not too late to snag that for Christmas if you'd like to get that. It's got magical recommendations for incense and herbs and oils and rituals for each and every one of the 12 months to be able to make the cosmos kind of help you make magic. Check that out. We've got a printed version as well as the digital version on the website. Shameless plug, this is it behind me. And if you want to learn with me, my Astrology 201 lessons are going to be beginning in January. So it's going to be on the 22nd. We're going to do it Sunday morning for 8 consecutive weeks live in my digital classroom. We are going to be jumping into the art of prediction with astrology. We're going to start looking at return charts. We're going to learn about transits. I'm going to teach you guys all of my tricks and techniques for being able to look at transits and be able to kind of pick up on what's coming when you're looking at transits to a natal chart and much, much more. All the information on that is on my website. And we're only going to be taking signups for like another 2.5, almost 3 weeks because it's going to start on the 22nd. So if you were lucky enough to snag that during the Black Friday sale, good on you. But the price is now going to be full price moving forward. A lot of people have asked about my classes. So I taught the beginners astrology. If you missed that live, you can still catch that on my website. Whenever I teach a class for the first time, it's going to be at a discounted rate. Then when we end up packaging it and editing it for it to be used or kind of study at your own pace afterwards, the price will always increase. So I always recommend to my students getting in on the live classes, especially because it's going to be with a group of students. Usually we have anywhere between 40 and 70 people. There's homework, there's group collaboration. We're going to be able to also have Q&A at the end of each class. So you get a lot more out of it by doing that live. But I know we have people in time zones all over the world. So if it's easier for you guys to be able to study at your own pace at a later date, that's okay too. And every Saturday, generally, we have live readings on the channel. We alternate between doing live tarot and astrology readings. It's always at 7:00 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. You can check out the community chat tab, like I said, and you can reserve your reading in advance to be able to get into the queue and join me for a much more affordable kind of like sliding scale donation-based reading if that's something that you're looking for. I also have memberships on the channel, so if you want to join my level 3 memberships, not only do you support Beyond the Veil and you're gonna get a shout out from me for supporting the channel, but you're gonna be able to get one reading once a month. Pretty helpful for those of you guys who like to check in regularly, so if you would like to consider joining, please do. And as always, live readings are going to be available one-on-one through my website. So if you want to book a birthday solar return reading, if you want to look at an election date reading, if you're just wanting to get a check-in and kind of see what's going on in your transits currently, you can go to my website below at beyondtheveiltarot.com and book a session with me. All right, so as always, you guys know I like to go through my master list of transits that catch my eye for the month ahead. I try to kind of condense this as much as possible so that way we're not going over too much stuff. There is a separate video that I always do. That's going to be the month ahead video that's more so general, and that will have many, many more transits on it. That's going to be coming later in the week. These are the transits that I think are going to be the most important to be discussing for each and every one of the 12 rising signs. But if you want to get more content, if you want to kind of check in weekly, we'll dive deeper into some of this and I'll do some other videos on these aspects. So the month kicks off first on January 1st, 2023, New Year's Day, Venus in conjunction with Pluto in Capricorn. It is deep, passionate. It can sometimes bring up some drama, some conflict, but I think that it has the opportunity to help us really heal and change and transform when it comes to our relationships, when it comes to our careers, when it comes to our desires. And the archetype of Venus and Pluto together can be really hot and steamy, but it can also get very intense, very complex. It can also be very dramatic. So I'm anticipating in the sign of Capricorn, this is going to be people getting very serious about their goals, very serious and very passionate about making changes in their career, their responsibility, their legacy, okay? Because Capricorn has connections to our professional life, it has to do with our public appearance, and also our responsibilities out in the world. So really interesting that it's happening on January 1st. I think people are going to be very serious about their New Year's resolutions this year. And in the midst of this, we're also having a Mercury retrograde. So a lot of energy that's going on in Capricorn if you guys saw my most recent videos. Now on January 7th, we're going to see a Mercury cazimi in the sign of Capricorn. The cazimi moment is when Mercury pulls ahead of the sun. So Mercury is the messenger god. He is going to be relaying some very important information that is being almost revealed. It's kind of like a light bulb moment where something turns on and we have an aha moment. The cazimi marks the midway point in the Mercury retrograde. So you want to take a look at where Capricorn is in your chart. Mercury is turning retrograde, reworking, reorganizing, renegotiating something in regards to that area of your life. And this is perhaps a day where there can just be some very insightful information that comes in. Usually it's like some serendipitous conversation or some little bit of information that you find or something that was missing suddenly turns up on this day. So you want to be extra tuned in, tapped in, and ready to receive some of these sprinkles from Mercury on the 7th. And like I said, this is the Mercury retrograde midpoint. So this is also when we start to kind of realize like, okay, what I've been working on, where I've been stuck, where there's been like a hang up, now all of a sudden it becomes clear. On January the 9th, we're going to see Venus in Aquarius trine Mars in Gemini. So we see Venus, which deals with relationships and harmony and love, in the sign of Aquarius, which is a little more social, quirky, different, make positive, harmonious aspects to Mars. So when we see the lovers, Mars and Venus, in harmonious aspects to each other, relationships go smoother. We might find that there is a little bit more harmony also in working together with others, especially because this is happening in the element of air. So it has this connection to relaying information, sharing information, socializing, moving. So I could see like contracts, important conversations, travel, things like that really kind of coming in together and harmonizing at this time. Really important also because Mars is very powerful at this point. Mars is actually getting ready to end his retrograde, and we're going to be seeing Mars hanging out at that 8-degree point for several days. So just like an inside tip, anybody who's got any planets around 8 degrees of Gemini or Sun, Moon, and Rising, this can be a real turning point for you where you're starting to kind of feel your energy is getting ready to turn back on. Also, the North and the South Node are ruled by Mars and Venus. So to see Venus ruling the North Node in Taurus in harmony with Mars, which rules the South Node in Scorpio, there seems to be some sense of the past and the future kind of coming into some kind of an agreement that's like, okay, we're sorting and sifting through what we need from the past, what we're hoping to achieve in the future. Very strong energy for the beginning of 2023 when it comes to being able to communicate and vocalize what it is we're hoping to achieve, what we're passionate about, what we value, right? So really great energy. Then on January 12th, finally, after what I believe is close to 7 months of having Mars in Gemini in general, several months of having Mars retrograde, Mars goes direct in the sign of Gemini. So for anybody who is a Gemini Sun, Moon, or Rising, or for those of you guys who are a Mars ruled chart, like Aries or Scorpio risings, your chart ruler is going direct. Yay! So as Mars has been retrograde, it's been kind of frustrated. It hasn't really been able to move as quickly as it wants to. It hasn't been able to move linearly as it likes to, and kind of going into situations head on. So when Mars goes direct, suddenly we have finally come out of this period of being more reflective or more scattered or more lost. Suddenly now we kind of open up when we realize like, okay, cool. Now we know what our goals are and we can initiate more. So this is actually really wonderful energy for January. Several planets are going to be going direct this month. That's something else I haven't quite mentioned yet, but that's really very important to help us just get our goals in alignment and start taking action. Then on the 14th of the month, Venus in Aquarius comes into a square with Uranus in Taurus. So where Venus and Mars were harmonizing and communicating, the January 14th period is definitely a little bit more uncomfortable. So when we have Venus in Aquarius come into a square with Uranus in Taurus, we're going to find that there are upsets or unpredictable or unexpected things that are taking place when it comes to our money, our resources, or perhaps even our relationships. Now, what's interesting is that traditionally Venus has connections, you know, to the sign of Taurus, right? And Uranus has connections to the sign of Aquarius. So when we see Venus in Aquarius come into a square with Uranus in Taurus, there is some mutual reception there. They are both saying that they are uncomfortable. So you're going to see some kind of pressure in the Aquarius area of your life. And it's closing in on Uranus and Taurus, i.e. where your goals might be trumping your finances, where what you're hoping to achieve might require you to make some uncomfortable physical changes. Obviously, it's going to affect everybody differently. This Aquarius in Taurus square is very familiar. We have seen several Uranus-Saturn squares taking place since 2021, and we finally saw it close out at the end of this year in November. So this is just fragments of that square that's coming up. My interpretation has been that the Aquarius energy really wants to have something that is limited. It wants space, it wants distance, it wants independence. The Uranus energy in Taurus really wants to break free from like a system. So there can be like lots of rules and regulations, or like lots of like red tape in the Aquarius energy of your life. And then we have Taurus that's like wanting to just kind of blast out, and it wants to kind of go free. It doesn't want to join the herd. It doesn't want to join the group of people. It also wants to be more natural. So we've seen this really manifest, especially financially in the markets, as collectively everybody has been feeling the pressure of inflation, of resources being limited, of things being delayed, and it's been very frustrating. So especially if you're a fixed sign, you're going to feel this square a little bit more strongly. It will probably be in play like the 13th through the 15th, and then it's going to ease up just slightly. So just be mindful, especially if you're a Venus ruled chart, like a Taurus or a Libra rising, that there can be some changes or some upsets right around this time, especially in regards to appearances. That could be something else that's radically changing. Squares are the energy of Mars. So it feels like we're in a pressure cooker. We're under pressure, or there is some sense of being forced to move or change. So Venus generally doesn't like to be in an uncomfortable situation. She wants to be comfortable. She wants to be harmonious. And as she comes into squares with Uranus, I have a feeling that this can also materialize as people having difference of opinions on what they like to eat, what feels good, how they socialize, lots of changes that may also be happening that we're hearing in terms of social media and anything in regards to politics and government spending. That's going to be a really big theme, just having the sun in Capricorn and having some of the conjunctions to Pluto before we move into later in the month when the sun goes into Aquarius. January 18th, this is the day that Mercury goes direct in the sign of Capricorn. So the Mercury retrograde is over, although the retrograde shadow is going to hang out really clear until the beginning of February. But if you're waiting to sign leases, agree to things, launch businesses, projects, all of that stuff, from January 18th on, it gets a little bit easier because we're not going to have some of the communication breakdown that we're used to having with Mercury retrograde. However, very interesting energy pretty much from the 18th all the way through the 21st. I would really recommend trying to initiate new things after the 21st when we have a new moon in Aquarius, because the energy from the 18th to the 21st is really complex. It's kind of dark and it's dimming, and there's something that's being phased out. Now, Mercury going direct is going to be great, obviously, for Gemini and Virgo risings. You guys are going to find it easier to move around. You're going to find it easier to communicate, easier to breathe. Capricorn risings, those of you guys who have been having issues with communication or having issues with health or your body, you're going to feel like that's going to kind of ease up and get a little bit easier as well. The reason why this is complex is also because the same day, the sun in Capricorn comes into conjunction with Pluto in Capricorn. So it's not just a Mercury retrograde where when that planet goes direct, there's usually some kind of news, but it'll be when the sun conjuncts Pluto, and it's going to be shining a light on the shadow self of a situation. Pluto is now nearing the end of its kind of not so permanent. It'll fully in 2024 go into Aquarius, but Pluto's nearing the end of its transit in the sign of Capricorn. So having the sun come into conjunction with Pluto is going to represent seeing the shadow side of a situation. We're going to possibly see some issues regarding something that's toxic or something that's darker, something that is kind of sinister or manipulated in our lives, or the death and the rebirth of something. It's always interesting to see the Sun-Pluto connection because it is about this transformation, similar to the Phoenix, where something ends and something new begins. So I see this transit almost as like a passing of the torch, because this will be the last Sun-Pluto conjunction we're going to see before Pluto goes into Aquarius. So it's in so many ways encapsulating all of the change and the transformation that's been happening in the sign of Capricorn really since 2008 when it first made that ingress. More on that, I'll do a whole video on that because that's something that's really interesting to me. I mean, I'm definitely seeing that materialize in my life. Just watching Pluto go through my 4th house, and it's kind of like finishing up with like finally, you know, being in a new home and being in a new space and a new place. So hopefully you guys are seeing some of the positive effects of that Sun-Pluto conjunction throughout this month. But I anticipate it's going to go hand in hand with probably globally this theme of like either exposing something in politics or in regards to a specific figure. The Sun-Pluto can be the death of a king or the death of a really prominent kind of male figure. On the 23rd of the month, we're going to see Venus in Aquarius come into conjunction with Saturn in Aquarius. And that's interesting considering the fact that Saturn is in one of its home signs, and then we're watching Venus come into conjunction. So commitments, a crystallization, something that is being formed, being bonded. So we can see really positive goals relating to relationships and money and resources kind of crystallizing and coming together. Saturn Venus to me seems like glue. It seems like serious. It seems like commitment oriented. So it's going to be interesting to see that happen, because traditionally Saturn is colder. It's detached. It's mature. It is responsible. And I think that this conjunction in general, because we're seeing so many positive aspects still between, at this point, the Sun in Aquarius with some other planets, it represents this maturation of a relationship or a goal, I think. And it can be very, very, very positive, especially if you are a Venus ruled chart. So if you're a Taurus or a Libra rising, equally for Aquarius, this can be really positive as well. And you can be kind of starting to really feel the results of making some changes when it comes to your relationships or your values or your resources kind of fully blossoming. On the 29th of the month, we're going to see the Sun in Aquarius come into a trine with Mars and Gemini. Now that is really positive because it's invigorating. I feel like the energy of the Sun in harmonious aspects to Mars is a get everything done day. It's kind of kicking in the door, having a lot of energy, being able to really feel capable and powerful. And being that it's in an air trine, you have to communicate, share, move around, call people, initiate conversations in order to kind of reap the benefits of this. Everybody's gonna, I think, be feeling this pretty positively, especially now that Mars is direct at this point. So to watch the Sun come into a trine with Mars makes me feel like both the Aquarius and the Gemini area of your life are working hand in hand, kind of saying, hey, now we have the power to move forward, especially after spending several long months of having had Mars retrograde in Gemini. Now we can really walk the walk and talk the talk, and we can start to see some of our goals come into fruition. And it can bring happiness, it can bring joy, it can also bring more opportunities for socializing and getting together with other people. Now, ingresses for the month, we are going to be seeing on January the 2nd, Venus enters into Aquarius. This is a fixed air sign placement. It is much more social, it is much more detached, it is quirky and unusual and different. Then on the 20th, we're going to have the Sun entering into Aquarius. So for the first 3 weeks of the month, the Sun will be in Capricorn. Really pay attention to the Sun's ingress, because it'll be passing Pluto on its way out and really showing you where something is being, like I said, reborn or regenerated in some way. But the Sun moving into Aquarius is going to be highlighting the Aquarius area of your chart for the next month. And whatever that is, it's going to be unusual, different, you know, detached, futuristic in some way. This is a really important area to be watching anyway, because like I said, over the next 3 months, we're going to see Saturn leave this sign and Pluto enter this sign. So we're not done with all of this Aquarius stuff. Then on the 26th of January, we're going to see Venus leave Aquarius, and it's going to move into its exaltation in the sign of Pisces. So this is wonderful, really, really great energy to see Venus go through Pisces. It's going to be much more emotional, sympathetic, and romantic, right? So Venus being in a sign that's associated with Neptune and Jupiter, it's much more expansive. It's much more sensitive. It's really wonderful for those of you guys who are a Pisces sun, moon, or rising. The water signs are going to benefit from this as well. And if you have Venus in Pisces, you're going to be having your Venus return here pretty soon. Planets that go direct this month are going to be on January 12th. Like I said, Mars is going to go direct in the sign of Gemini. Really amazing energy to kind of see that stabilize and finally feel like we can move forward and we can take more action. So some of us, we may not be feeling like some of our New Year's resolutions are in full swing, perhaps until closer to the time that Mars goes direct, when we feel like we have more energy. January 18th, Mercury goes direct in Capricorn. Although the retrograde is over, we're going to be feeling the retrograde shadow clear until the beginning of February. So if you guys want all of the aspects on that, you can check out my Mercury retrograde video that I did in Capricorn. I take you guys through all of the different aspects that it's going to be making throughout its retrograde, and also the themes for each of the 12 signs. On January 22nd, we are going to see Uranus go direct in the sign of Taurus. So lots of direct energy. I mean, Uranus direct in Taurus makes me feel like now we're going to start seeing the physical effects of some of these Uranian changes that we've been making. Uranus in Taurus has been shaking up our value systems, our relationships, our food supply, anything in regards to banking and institutions. And I got to tell you guys, next year, things are going to get more wild within this next year. Some of you guys are watching this in January because we're going to see over the next few months, Pluto going into Aquarius is definitely going to enhance what it means to be wealthy. And I think it's going to be a state of freedom or a state of information. It could also be some much bigger changes in terms of digital currency. And Uranus is going to be no longer in harsh aspect to Saturn. Now it's going to start coming into sextiles with Saturn moving into Pisces. So the energy is going to be a little different. But if you are somebody who is either a Taurus or a Aquarius rising, with this retrograde that's been going on, now that it's getting ready to kind of wake up, you might feel more alert, you might feel more intuitive, you might start feeling like, okay, now you're seeing the physical effects of some of the changes that you've been making in your life, especially if you've been striving for more authenticity, for more freedom, for more power. You're finally going to start seeing this kind of happening. Now, moons for the month, we're going to have a full moon in Cancer. That'll be on January the 6th, 2023. That is going to be a full moon at 16 degrees. Obviously, we know that the sign of Cancer is ruled by the moon. So a full moon in Cancer is definitely going to pack quite a punch. You guys can check out a video that I'm going to be putting out in the next week or so on that full moon. Then on the 21st of the month, we're going to have a new moon in Aquarius. And like I said, the 18th through the 21st is a little spooky. Between, Mercury going direct in Capricorn, the sun coming into conjunction with Pluto, then it's going to be a balsamic moon, and then we're going to have that new moon in Aquarius. So for those of you guys who don't get your New Year's resolutions up and off the ground during the new moon in Capricorn that we have had in December, then a good time to start launches, to start new businesses, to initiate new things, to set new intentions, to focus on your new goals. You can do that right after this new moon on the 21st. This is going to be a powerful one. It's going to be at 1 degree of Aquarius, and it will be conjunct Pluto. So it is going to be a very Plutonian moon. Very powerful, and in many ways it's showing us or foreshadowing some of the initiations that are going to be coming over this next year as Pluto moves into the sign of Aquarius. All right, so those are the transits that I'm taking a look at the most. Those of you guys who like to add this into your calendars, you can. Like I said, I'm going to take it through all the 12 signs and talk to you guys about each and every one of these individually. But sometimes taking a screenshot of this and saving it can be really helpful, so you can put that on your calendar. So let's now take it to January 2023 horoscopes. So as always, guys, listen for your rising sign first, followed by your sun and your moon sign. I am a tropical Western astrologer, which means I am going to be talking to you guys about Western astrology. I'm not a Vedic astrologer. For those of you guys who are asking, this is whole sign. So if you are somebody who studies or follows Placidus, then it's really important possibly for you to listen to specifically where these planets are moving through. You might have to listen to your rising sign and your whole sign. And for the new and the full moons, you always want to be following where those degrees hit. So for the full moon in Cancer, you want to look at where is 16 degrees Cancer in your chart. For the new moon in Aquarius, you want to look at where is 1 degree of Aquarius in your chart. I know it differs from person to person. I have to do it whole sign because it's really the only way to kind of make it apply to everybody generally. But for whatever reason, if it doesn't resonate, you might want to go and take a look at the rising sign that might match up with your Placidus. If you don't know what that means, if that doesn't make sense, go and check out an online chart calculator. You can just put in your birth information of your time, your date, your city, and your location of birth. Look at the 9 o'clock hour. That's going to be your rising sign. You can make it a whole sign housing if it's easier for you, or if you want to look at it specifically, you can look at Placidus. I recommend everybody look at both. When you get a session with me, I'm going to look at the transits using Placidus because it's going to be, I think, a little bit more specific, but everybody's got their own method, you know? All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into each and every one of the 12 signs. All right, so for Aries and Aries rising, welcome to January 2023. Hopefully you're doing well. We've got a lot going on this month, so let's go ahead and cover this for you. Well, the month kicks off with Venus coming into conjunction with Pluto, and that is going to be taking place on the 1st. Let me get my little marker up here. There we go. So you'll see this. It's easier for me to draw on the screen for you guys than to move the dial because you guys are going to be able to see more. So eventually Venus will move into Aquarius, but on the 1st of January, Venus and Pluto will come together in a conjunction in your 10th house. And this is going to be in regards to huge changes in regards to your relationships, okay? Public relationships. Why? Because Venus rules your 7th house of others. So it can be business partners, romantic partners, counselors, therapists, your public reputation. And Venus also rules your 2nd house of possessions, money, resources, and it's going to be taking place in your 10th house. So the 10th house is where the action is. Changes in terms of your status in the world. So some people are, oh, I'm retiring, I'm quitting, I'm changing jobs, I'm becoming the boss, I am now in a relationship, I am now launching my own business, some big change or transformation in regards to your values and what you're controlling. It can also mean that you're having to hash something out with somebody in your professional life, okay? Lots of energy in the Capricorn energy of your chart because we've got a Mercury retrograde there, the sun is there. So a lot of responsibility, your goals, okay? And a lot of this stuff is also changing. For some of you guys, you might be renegotiating a salary. Some of you guys might be negotiating whether or not you're coming back to a job, whether or not you're willing to also help take care of a parent. That's the other way that I could kind of look at this. So the Venus-Pluto conjunction, very powerful, very potent, especially when it comes to having an opportunity to have more success and achievement when it comes to your role out in the world. Now on the 2nd, then we're going to see Venus leave your 10th house of career. It's then going to move into Aquarius and it's going to stay here most of the month. Aquarius is your 11th house, which is about friends and associations and also your goals. So Venus going into the 11th house could bring more parties, more opportunity to have fun with other people, really putting an emphasis also on your friendships as well. So you might find that there's just much more opportunity to kind of socialize and be around other people. You'll see this happen even more later in the month when the sun ingresses there. On the 7th, we're going to see the Mercury Cazimi taking place in your 10th house of career. Now, this is going to be about some aha epiphany moment. There might be like a conversation you have with another coworker. There might be a conversation or a meeting about a new schedule, about a new job. Something like that can be coming up. Documents, paperwork, assistance, these are all themes because Mercury is coming into conjunction with the sun. So Mercury rules your schedule, your daily routine, also people who you hire or people who you ask for help. It also rules your 3rd house, which is about communication and documents. So for some of you guys, it's going to be, I'm renegotiating my salary. What position am I going to be in? What department am I going to be in? What's my schedule? How much money am I making? For others, it could very well be that you're having a change in your work schedule. For others, it could be that you're debating whether or not you're going back to work after a period of taking time off. So the retrograde can be you returning. But just look for this being kind of the turning point as the Cazimi is taking place and you start to realize what the Mercury retrograde was about. Just having the retrograde in your 10th house generally does suggest there's something changing about your profession in general. Now on the 9th of the month, we're going to see Venus in Aquarius come into a trine with Mars, which is very important because Venus is in a trine to your chart ruler. And for Aries and Aries rising, your chart ruler Mars has been retrograde for several months in the sign of Gemini. So it's been delaying, slowing things down, creating conflict in regards to communication, vehicles, siblings, documents. So to see Venus, which is in a very social sign of Aquarius, trining Mars, it means that you may have a friend who offers to initiate help in some way. Hey, I'll help you launch your podcast. Hey, I'll make a connection. Hey, I want to introduce you to someone. So there's some support that may be coming from either a friend or perhaps even a woman that's going to help you when it comes to communications in general. To see your 7th house Lord Venus in harmony with your chart Lord, it's almost like you're able to really work with another person to make your dreams and your goals come full circle and come to life. Then on the 12th of the month, we're going to see Mars go direct. So Mars will go direct, yay! You're going to definitely feel that shift. Maybe you're going to be thinking clearly. Maybe you're going to feel like you have a newfound sense of direction. Maybe you have finalized something in regards to a document, a move, or travel, perhaps even a vehicle. So having your chart ruler go direct is going to be really important because it's going to help you communicate and also think more so clearly and feel like you can take action. On the 14th, Venus in Aquarius will come into a square with Uranus in Taurus. And so this is a little bit more tricky, okay? Venus in your 11th house can be a female friend. It can be a goal. It can be a group. It can be also something in regards to a partnership and not seeing eye to eye with another person about a value situation, okay? So it's something as simple as somebody who owes you money, or somebody who says, you know, I don't like that color, or I don't want to, you know, have the same type of food. You're going to have some kind of situation where either you and a friend or you and a partnership are possibly not on the same page about your value system. Be careful when it comes to also like group collaborations and group involvement, or anything in regards to like funding things together, because there can be a little bit of butting heads as a result of this square, which can bring up some friction either in finances or relationships, okay? On the 18th, you're going to see that Mercury will go direct in Capricorn. So technically the Mercury retrograde will be over in your 10th house of career. So whatever you've renegotiated, reorganized, reworked, or returned to is going to kind of start to stabilize, and you're working all of like the kinks out of it. This can also be interesting because it can tell me that there is a sense of you deciding and going back and forth about whether or not you want to stay at a job, or whether or not you want to maintain a schedule, or whether or not you want to be responsible for something. And that same day that Mercury goes direct, you're also going to have the sun come into conjunction with Pluto. So you're going to go, no, I'm really ready to make the change. I think for a lot of Aries and Aries risings, it can be about whether or not you're wanting to be self-employed, or whether or not you still love what it is that you're doing for work, and making a decision moving forward in the new year when it comes to your professional life. And some of you guys, it may mean that you're stepping down, or that you're resigning, or that you're giving notice. For others, it can mean that you're realizing that your work schedule and your health, there's some interference, and that you need to make some changes in your schedule in order to feel like you have much better health. All right, so then on the 20th, we will see the sun ingress into Aquarius. It'll move into your 11th house, really highlighting anything in regards to friendships, goals, parties, having fun, being around other people. Really wonderful because I see the 11th house as like being able to celebrate after a job well done. So for some of you guys, you're still really reeling after all of the hard work that you've put in 2022, and you're really starting to kind of look over everything and realize how far you've come. And it won't be until the sun gets into Aquarius and you see that happen. I like that the sun in your 11th house is sextiling Jupiter. I like that it's going to expand in terms of your goals and your optimism, and you're going to feel much better about some of the changes that you've made in this last year, and also a lot more social and adventurous. On the 23rd, Venus in Aquarius will come into conjunction with Saturn. So Venus keeps moving through your 11th house. It'll come into conjunction with Saturn. And once again, Venus rules other people and resources, and Saturn is about responsibility. So I have a feeling that what's coming is that there is going to be this sense of you sharing your accomplishments with other people. It can be partners, romantic partners. It can also be with some of your friends and being like, look what I built, look what I created, look how far I've come. And like other people might be celebrating your accomplishments as well. So definitely give yourself a pat on the back. There is some karmic situations though that can happen with Saturn conjunction. So I could see this as a real defining moment in a relationship with another person, a defining moment in terms of joining a group or an association or something in regards to a collaboration that you're doing with other people, okay? On the 26th, we then see Venus leave Aquarius. It comes into the sign of Pisces, and this is where it's exalted. So Venus in the 12th house is great for vacations abroad, anything in regards to art and music and film and kind of working behind the scenes, having more opportunities for traveling to foreign places. I would say bed pleasures as well, things connected to like intimacy and sex and romance behind the scenes. It can be a time where you're just feeling more comfortable and romantic with another person. It can also be a time where you are just having some kind of connection to something that's like more divine. So more opportunities for meditation, ritual offerings, anything connected to the ocean, the sea, or temples, you know, healing centers, sanctuaries. That can be something else. So you might be feeling also that you're inclined to go there with another person because Venus rules this part of your chart, your 7th house, and it's moving through the 12th. In some certain situations, you may have partners or partnerships that are going through a period of needing some kind of healthcare and assistance or some kind of treatment. So you might hear that you have a partner that needs to see a specialist, or you have a female family member that needs to go and get some kind of hospital treatment. That can come up. But I don't really see it negatively aspected. While Venus is moving through the 12th house, it'll come into sextiles with planets in Capricorn, so there's going to be care. There might be more responsibility on your end to make sure they get this care. And we're also going to see Venus that's going to come into sextiles with the North Node and also Uranus. So the Venus through Pisces transit is actually quite sweet and very spiritual for you for the month ahead. Okay? So let's take a look and see what the cards have in store for you, Aries, and what they are predicting for January. Oh, interesting. The card that I get is the Queen of Cups. Okay. So the Queen of Cups can be about a water sign female. So Cancers, Pisces, Scorpios. But this can also be talking about you in general, feeling more compassionate, more tuned in, more emotional, much more warmth, caring, and feeling like you're going with the flow. So if this is not you, I know you're a fire sign, this can be about somebody that you encounter that brings more of this into your life. This can be about you embodying this, which is interesting because we do have a lot of energy that's going to be either making sextiles and aspects to Neptune or with planets that are starting to ingress into Pisces. Jupiter is now in your sign, so everything comes down to faith, philosophy, belief, you know, what it is that you're willing to envision, what it is that you're willing to go after, to learn, to channel. And I think, you know, really between now and March, there's going to be lots of opportunities, especially with Saturn going into your 12th house, to start reflecting on what do I do when I'm alone? How do I tune in? How do I take time to myself? How do I meditate? How do I start learning how to kind of getting in sync with the cosmos and being more open and receptive to what my intuition is trying to tell me? So I think that this card coming up for you can be really helpful in the process of that and really being able to tune into your higher self and channeling much more emotional energies. It may mean that you're just feeling more emotional this month and you're like, something's going on, something's coming. Perhaps maybe you're starting to feel the little bits and pieces of Saturn creeping up on your 12th house, okay? So look for that cosmic support coming from the Queen of Cups in the month ahead. Good luck. Now we have got Taurus and Taurus rising. I guess I should have changed this, huh? Oh well, that's okay. We'll do that now. January. There we go. So for my Taurus and my Taurus risings, welcome back. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Happy New Year to you. We are going to be starting off the month on the 1st of January. And on the 1st, we're going to see your chart ruler, Venus, coming into conjunction with Pluto. That is going to be taking place in the sign of Capricorn in your 9th house. Now, Venus-Pluto conjunctions, sexy, passionate opportunities for things to just kind of boil over. Whenever Venus transits happen, it's important because it rules your body and it also rules your daily routine, anything in regards to also your health, okay? So Venus is you, daily routine, health and assistance. Pluto is other people. I have a feeling this can be a moment where there's a bit of like a meeting of the minds that you're having with another person about your belief system, about how you see the world. When it comes to communicating stuff about what you're learning, where you're traveling, what you're experiencing, things in regards to also health and organization. That could be another theme that's taking place. Lots of energy in Capricorn at the moment. Plenty of planets are moving through there. The month kicks off with the Mercury retrograde. Thankfully, it is a sister sign. So you're going to be experiencing trines from your 9th house of beliefs to your North Node in Taurus and Uranus in Taurus in your 1st house, which means you're learning to get more so in tune with your body. You're learning more about philosophy and also how you move through the world. You're learning that things can change, life can change, your job can change, your philosophy on life can change. And so there's like a little bit of like reorganizing that at the moment right now. But for the Venus-Pluto conjunction to be happening, I think it's kind of talking about an opportunity for you to have a really significant encounter with a new belief system, or that you're changing the way that you look at your relationships. There can be powerful women that come in, especially like attorneys or mentors or gurus or people who are foreigners or teachers. These are all archetypes of the 9th house. And you might meet them through business, or you might meet them through higher education or law. Now, then on the 2nd, we're going to see Venus is going to change signs, and it's going to move into your 10th house. So this is all about your career, your public reputation, okay, responsibility out in the world. Venus brings sweetness wherever she goes. So Venus going through your 10th house means that there is sweeter connections with people in your professional life, that you may have sweeter interactions with bosses, with clients, that there might be just more of you being visible, being seen, and your appearance seems to be quite important. Yes, throughout the next month, you'll see Venus come into conjunction with Saturn, so there is some serious commitments going on. There will be squares to both the nodes and Uranus, so there are some major changes going on in terms of fate, especially when it comes to your romantic or your professional relationships, and a leveling up, so to say, of who you're partnering with professionally. But when Venus changes signs, you feel it. So watch for that shift coming in very early in the month on the 2nd. Then on the 7th, we're going to see the Sun Mercury Cazimi taking place. So that will be happening for you in your 9th house. This is when Mercury is retrograde in conjunction to the Sun. Mercury rules the 2nd house of money and resources. It also rules children, joy, creativity, or self-employment. So to watch that happen, it tells me that you're changing your philosophy, or you're changing direction, or your belief system on what it is that you value, how you want to make money, how you want to have fun, what you're passionate about, what you love. It can also be changes in the way that you view the bigger picture of your life. It can be things like, do I want to spend money on this? Do I enjoy doing this? Do I love this? And it can also be about changing your philosophy or your stance on something in regards to your love life or children, because of that connection to the 5th house. Then on the 9th, we're going to see Venus in Aquarius trine Mars in Gemini. So Venus will still be in your natal 10th house. It is going to come into a trine with Mars in your 2nd house. This makes me feel like there is some potential powerful collaboration or union that comes in that helps you really regenerate and bring more opportunities for abundance. So it can be a person who steps in and says, hey, I want to fund something, or hey, I want to hire you, or let's work together on something, let's drum up some business, let's make some money. So there can be an opportunity to kind of really feel Mars retrograde easing up a little bit, which you will within several days. Because Venus is you and Mars is other people, I could see it as being like a really powerful, strong professional union or team, or even working with a partner to be able to find ways to kind of really improve your income flow. It can be a client as well, though. Then on the 12th, we are going to see that Mercury is going to go direct in Capricorn. So this is when the Mercury retrograde technically ends. Like I said, I like the Mercury retrograde for you because of the trines that it's making to all these placements in your 1st house. So, you know, just a bit of advice: prayer, meditation, anything in regards to like some kind of structured or like routine practice, especially spiritually or in terms of your faith, can really kind of help you get things into alignment. What you're learning also, you're learning to be more committed. So I would say just pay attention, stay open. The Mercury retrograde ends at this time, so it's definitely going to get a whole lot easier for you. I think, you know, just moving forward with some of that stuff. Okay, so then we are going to see on the, let's see, actually, no, I take that back. We were going off of the Mercury Cazimi. Okay, so we have the Venus trine Mars. We have Venus on the 14th, Venus in Aquarius square Uranus in Taurus. So we've got Venus that comes into a square here. So to me, it seems like you're trying to work out how to be able to be a part of a team commitment and the effects that it has on you. So you're like, I'm working with other people. You'll see this throughout Aquarius season 2, just all the planets moving through your 10th house, coming into a square with the nodes and also Uranus. You're like, okay, you know, I'm showing up, I'm supporting the team, I'm being a part of a team initiative, but what about me? Where's mine? So there's something that's kind of rubbing you the wrong way, either physically or energetically, because you might feel like you're making sacrifices in order to kind of show up and be a part of the team. For some of you guys, it's also just about learning how to delegate tasks better and not feeling like you need to be the person who's kind of running the show. Okay, then on the 14th, Venus comes into a square with Uranus. So Venus moving into that square also suggests that it can be conflicts over money and resources. Whether or not you're getting along well with other people, whether or not you guys are on the same page about finances, and when it comes to kind of managing or handling business. Then on the 18th, I apologize, Mercury goes direct in Capricorn, and that'll be in your 9th house. And that's when everything has got sorted out in regards to your belief systems when it comes to your life in general. My opinion on this is watch this day, because it'll be also when the Sun and Pluto are coming into conjunction. So it's not just, okay, I'm getting something straight about my travel schedule, my education schedule, my work schedule, something in regards to 9th house stuff. It also is going to be about a complete change and a transformation of what you view your home life to be, or what you believe family could mean to you. Something about home and family and domestic stuff. It can also be about family that are far away or family that are abroad. So something changing in regards to that. But the Sun-Pluto conjunction in your 9th house is reflecting something possibly also in regards to either family that lives further away or in-laws. The 9th house can be your in-laws. So it can be especially like solar figures, fathers, grandfathers, uncles, brothers, anything like that. Watch, because there can be a really significant event connected to one of these people if you are partnered. All right, then we're going to have on the 20th, the Sun enters into the sign of Aquarius. So the Sun will go into the 10th house. It's all going to be putting a highlight on responsibility, your career, your professional life. This will be a period of time where you're just more so in the spotlight. Okay, there also might be more responsibility that you have in regards to your home or your family, because the Sun is connected to your 4th house. But over the next month, you're going to see the Sun move through here and come into a conjunction with Saturn. So you're being seen more as like the boss or the provider or the sole, you know, responsible person. This might be some really big achievements that you're having in terms of your career, and you're really looking at all of the hard work that you've been putting into this over this last year, and you're starting to see some of the accomplishments, especially in terms of your professional life, finally coming full circle. On the 23rd of the month, Venus in Aquarius will come into a conjunction with Saturn. And that's really important because your Venus, okay, Saturn is something legally, or it can be about publishing, it can be about education, it can be about teaching. I have a feeling that this is like when you're starting to kind of like realize like, wow, I finally am going to publish the book, or wow, I got the acceptance letter into the college of my choice, or I am going to embark on, you know, teaching a new course. You're being seen differently in some way. And so for those of you guys who are either writers or educators, this is really positive. And for some of you guys, you're just shifting gears and you're redefining who you are out in the public sphere in a very positive way. You're going to reap the rewards of that. You're going to really be seen as a professional because of this conjunction. On the 26th of the month, Venus enters into Pisces. So Venus will move into your natal 11th house. This is important because Venus is your chart ruler. So Venus in Pisces in the 11th house is hanging out more with friends, being more social, bringing more sweetness to your social connections, more opportunities to meet people out with friends. A great time to be going out to like movies and shows and like just socializing, seeing, you know, music with friends, going to live, you know, events can be really great with Venus in this part of your chart, especially because we'll start seeing Venus inch towards Neptune, and it'll start coming into sextiles with your ascendant and the North Node Uranus, which means that the more that you're spending time around pleasant people, creative people, people who might be a little bit more bohemian with Venus in Pisces, or people who are more spiritual or they're different culturally, it's really helping you shine and like come more so into the person that you're hoping to kind of be. So it might be just surrounding yourself with individuals who are encouraging you to be a little bit more yourself, right? And to be a little bit more emotional and sensitive and creative as well. Then on the 29th, we're going to see the sun in Aquarius, which is in your 10th house, coming into a trine with Mars and Gemini. So this is cool because I feel like for some of you guys, it's like a family affair where you're working with, you know, family members, you're working with a parent, or you're working with a spouse, you're working with your children, or even roommates, and you're starting to kind of go like, wow, okay, we're working together and we're really kind of generating something. And it can be something that's for spiritual causes. It can be something that is in relation to foreign travel. It can be something in relation to nonprofit. Somehow you're giving back. But with the sun in your 10th house trine Mars, which will be direct at this point, it's like you're looking and going, wow, look at everything that we've accomplished. Look what we've built. Look what we've been able to achieve. It may mean also that you get the green light and you have more freedom to be able to dictate spending, especially if you run a business or you own a business. Like you're going to kind of feel a little bit more confident in making larger purchases, or being able to have a little bit more leeway just with spending in general as a result of that trine, especially because you're going to have the support of other people. So I wonder how many Taurus and Taurus risings are either working closely with a spouse or with a partner to find ways to be able to drum up new business. Probably quite a few of you. All right, so let's take a look and see what the cards say for you for the month ahead, Taurus. The card that I get is the Two of Pentacles. So that makes sense. There's like a little bit of like juggling things, right? You're kind of like, I got to do this, and then I got to do that, and I got to do this. Thus is life. But I think Aquarius season kind of coming in is going to re-highlight some of the feelings that we've had with the Saturn-Uranus squares over the last 2 years. You have had so much responsibility, so much work, so much on your shoulders in terms of your professional life, or being a manager, being a boss, being a parent, taking care of someone. And it's really put the pressure on you in general. With North Node Uranus in your first house, you want to break free. You want more independence. You want more authority of your own life. And there's like a rebelliousness to you, you know? So there are going to be times this month where you have to go back and forth, and you have to ask yourself, do I need to stop and weigh the options? Do I need to evaluate my choices? Multiple priorities that you're having to kind of juggle, making decisions, but also multitasking, and learning to be able to do two things at one time. I'm happy to announce that in the spring, when Saturn goes into Pisces, you're not going to have these squares any longer. And this has all been in preparation for Pluto to go into your 10th house. And I think that's going to be really big for your professional life and for your public image, and for you to kind of have a much stronger reputation. So practice balance, be also aware that you need to be decisive this month, and that there can be a sense of feeling like you're taking on too much, right? Good luck, Taurus. For my Gemini and Gemini risings, hopefully you're doing well. Welcome to January of 2023. Happy New Year to you. The month is going to kick off with Venus coming into conjunction with Pluto, and that will be in Capricorn in your natal 8th house. So before Venus goes into Aquarius, she has to come into contact with Pluto, or Hades, Lord of the Underworld. This is happening in your 8th house. So this can represent opportunities for major transformations, sexually, emotionally, in terms of taxes, inheritances, joint resources, something in regards to budgets and budgeting, things that you did not see coming, okay? Pluto, you know, has connections to health and wellness and daily routine. It's also about service. Venus has connections to your 5th house, which is about romance and creativity. and also your 12th house, which deals with spiritual things and things that are unseen. So I feel like this is a time to really pay attention to your health, how your mental health affects your physical body. I feel like this is also an opportunity to do some major clearing when it comes to any hangups that you might have in terms of intimacy. There's a gang of planets in Capricorn. There's a retrograde in Capricorn, so your 8th house is something that's hard to not acknowledge. It definitely brings up the theme of like having to work hard when it comes to joint resources with you and another partner. So some of you guys are waiting on spousal support, waiting on tax documents, waiting on an inheritance, waiting on an insurance claim. This is all 8th house stuff. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens when this all goes direct, especially considering Capricorn naturally makes an inconjunct to your sign, which means it's kind of agitating, like there is some sense of change and transformation that's rubbing you the wrong way. On the 2nd, Venus enters into the sign of Aquarius, so it's going to move into your natal 9th house, which is good news for you because it's going to come into a trine with your sign. Aquarius is a sister sign. So Venus, which is about love, harmony, romance, and it can also be about foreign travel or creativity, moves into the 9th house. So that's going to naturally start trining either Mars or your placements that you have in Gemini. I feel like this can represent a new teacher. This can represent opportunities for travel, a new belief system, a new course or something that you're learning or a place that you're considering to travel to that kind of pops up. It is possible it can be like a woman that you connect with, who you collaborate with, that can be very different than you culturally as well. But you'll see throughout this transit that Venus is going to make positive aspects to your sun, moon, or rising, but also Mars. So it's bringing more love and passion to things that are more kind of culturally oriented or foreign or things that involve university studies, travel. And it's also pleasure. So some of you guys might be finding like you want to study astrology, you're wanting to study metaphysics, you're wanting to start learning about going and visiting a new country or a new place, and you want to study some of like the culture that might come up for you. On the 7th, we're going to see a Sun Mercury cazimi in Capricorn. So this is the midway point to the Mercury retrograde in your 8th house. Cazimi is when Mercury pulls ahead of the sun and relays some information. Likely, if you're really tuned in Gemini, you'll realize that there is something that's going on and it is very significant and it does have to do with a secret or something that is hidden. It might mean that you relay some kind of secret information. It might mean that someone exposes something to you and you become aware of it. It can be that documents turn up that went missing. It can mean that you suddenly realize or you find out some secret about a joint resource situation, like a partner's debt, or you find out that possibly you are receiving something. That's the other way that I could look at this. This is important though because Mercury rules your chart. So keep in mind that the cazimi is going to be an important conversation that you may have where something is revealed or you are revealing something to someone else. And I think it's about a document or a conversation, or it's about a car or a vehicle, especially like documents and insurance can be a thing. But it can also be a conversation that you're having with another person about movement. Okay, so think about that. Then on the 9th, we're going to see Venus in Aquarius, trine Mars in Gemini. So I really like this because at this point in time, you're getting ready to see Mars wake up pretty soon. So when you have Venus and Mars harmonizing, there's something about, you know, your spiritual self, your creative self harmonizing. So it might be a time where you meet somebody who kind of helps you regain the faith and like the vision and figure out what it is you believe in and what direction you're going in and what you're most passionate about. And it can be a friend as well, somebody who helps remind you of like the need to just kind of keep going and really practice your faith. On the 12th, then Mars goes direct in your sign. So this is really important for Gemini, sun, moon, and risings, especially if you have anything around 8 degrees of Gemini. This is where the energy comes back, the light turns on, you strike the match, the power is going to start to kind of turn back on in your life, and you're going to feel like you're really ready to get moving, to take initiative, to finally like overcome a hurdle. You might feel like some of the health issues or the lower energy drags that you've been feeling are starting to wear off. It's going to take about a week or so for Mars to really wake up, and it still won't come out of shadow until closer to March. So just know that after this point in time, you might be feeling like you're capable of taking more action in general. Then on the 14th, we're going to see Venus in Aquarius come into a square with Uranus and Taurus. So Venus is going to be hanging out in your 9th house. highlighting everything that you love about the bigger picture of life. It's going to square Uranus, which makes me feel like it may manifest as definitely challenges in terms of ceremonies, challenges with travel, financial hangups with travel. So be very careful, especially if you're going to be traveling to foreign places. You might find that you lose something valuable at an airport, or you find out that a trip is not refundable, okay? There can also be a sense of you not seeing eye to eye with a teacher or a spiritual or a religious figure as well during this time. It may be harder for you just to relate to some of these people. But I feel like this is maybe you guys realizing that, you know, a trip or something that you had planned that you thought was going to happen is probably not going to happen, and there's going to be some kind of unforeseen event or some change to the schedule potentially. Then on the 18th of the month, we're going to see Mercury is going to go direct. So this is important because this means that the Mercury retrograde is over, even though the shadow is going to hang out for a little bit. It'll be easier for you to come out with some kind of information or make the most of some conversation that you've had about a refund or getting something back or some kind of an exchange. Your energies will flow better. You'll be able to communicate better. I also feel like you're not going to feel like you're in like hideout mode. Sometimes having Mercury retrograde in your 8th house as it's connected to your 4th has you kind of feeling like something needs to change and transform with your home or your emotions, but you're not quite ready to do that yet, or you're not really quite ready to share something with someone. You're wanting to keep something private. So finally you're able to talk about it. You know, the Mercury retrograde in the 8th conjunct Pluto is not easy. It can be talking about letting go, grief, loss, and whether or not you're ready to share with other people some of the painful experiences that you've had with this. So things are going to start to turn around once Mercury goes direct. I say this because at the same time, the sun comes into conjunction with Pluto. So it tells me that even though it's painful to talk about this thing or to share that bit of yourself or that secret or to expose something, it is necessary. It does need to come out, and it's going to help you heal. Then on the 20th, we see the sun move into Aquarius. So the sun will be moving into your natal 9th house, which is going to be highlighting, once again, travel, philosophy, higher education, publishing, teaching. And this is good because you start thinking about the bigger picture. Okay, where do I go from here? And all these planets are harmonizing with Mars in your sign. So you're feeling like your beliefs have changed, you're ready to go, you're ready to initiate something, you're ready to move, you're ready to travel. And things are going to get so much easier when you have the sun in a sister sign forming harmonious trines to your sun, moon, or rising. On the 23rd, we're going to see Venus in Aquarius come into conjunction with Saturn in Aquarius. So Venus and Saturn meet in the 9th house. It might be a serious commitment to study or practice something, to learn something. You might be studying art, culture, religion. You might be traveling to a foreign place or making plans or investments to do so. I also feel like it's very much connected to your philosophy about love, creativity, or even children because of the connection to Venus. You may be traveling with an older woman, like an older relative. That's the other way that I look at it, or going to a place where you can go and view art that might be rather old, right? Venus, Saturn. Then on the 26th, we're going to see Venus leave Aquarius and move into Pisces, where it's exalted. This will be interesting because Venus is going to be in your 10th house. So it immediately comes into a square with Gemini placements over the next month. Even in spite of that, I really like it. I think it's bringing more harmony and more creativity and love and happy and healthy relationships in your professional sphere. So you're going to get more recognition, more appreciation, more people might be seeking you out. It might be a time where you're getting bonuses, or you're unexpectedly kind of getting promotions, and just kind of getting high fives from people at the office who are really appreciating a job well done. It can also mean that you're aligning with some kind of business or purpose or something that's connected to a foreign land, or perhaps something that is going to be more psychological, spiritual, research oriented in its nature because of the connections to your 12th house. Then on, let's see, the 29th, the sun in Aquarius will trine Mars in Gemini. So this is nice because the sun has moved into your 9th house and it's in a trine with Mars. So you're able to have a conversation, or you're able to travel somewhere or learn something, or have somebody give you some kind of guidance that's going to help you initiate something. So Sun trine Mars is always like a very action-packed day. There could be lots of conversations and communications because the Sun rules your third house of short distance travel, trips, siblings. And Mars rules your goals, and Mars also has connections to your schedule. So I feel like some of you guys are going to be talking to your counselors this month, or your gurus, or your mentors, or a job coach, or you're going to be talking to like a priest or somebody who can give you guidance and kind of help give you the pep talk that you need to figure out how to get the show on the road and start becoming more aligned with your goals. When these people show up into your life, they're going to incentivize you and push you to make these changes, which I feel are going to come more into alignment closer to the end of the month, right around the 29th of January. Okay? All right, Gemini, let's take a look. Let's see what the cards have in store for you. And I get the Four of Swords. Okay. Interesting energy because this is more so about rest, relaxation, taking a break, retreat, you know, really thinking more long-term about what it is that you want, solitude to gather your thoughts. So interesting that the month kicks off with a Mercury retrograde in your 8th house, where that's definitely solitude, privacy, regeneration of the mind, regeneration of strategy when it comes to your career and also your goals. And Mars is retrograde also in your 1st house. I feel inclined to tell you that until both of these planets go direct, you're still kind of in hibernation mode. You're still kind of in your cocoon. You're not quite ready to emerge yet. Some things are still kind of like cooking, so to say. So take it easy until the 18th. After that point in time, once the Sun starts coming into a trine with Mars by the end of the month, you're definitely going to be feeling much better. You're going to be feeling like you have more energy to get going and move forward. You may be in a period where you need to retreat a little bit. You need more peace. You need to focus on protecting yourself, protecting your boundaries, protecting your energy, and just kind of lying low until you come out of some of these retrogrades. And then you're going to have a better kind of idea of what direction you're going to be going in. Okay? Good luck. Now we have Cancer and Cancer rising. Hello, Cancer. Welcome to January of 2023. I hope you're doing well. Excited to talk to you about what the month has in store. Let's go ahead and kick off first with Venus coming into conjunction with Pluto in Capricorn. Lots of energy in Capricorn at the first half of the month with planets in your opposite sign, your 7th house, which is all about relationships. So Venus-Pluto can be a tricky one. This is almost like the devil may try to tempt you back type of energy. If you've been hearing throughout the Mercury retrograde from the past, or rethinking a past relationship, or considering calling somebody up, or going back to work for someone you used to work for, just be mindful that the Venus-Pluto connection can be like a poison apple for you. That's like, it's hard for you to say no, and you might be tempted to go back into union, or you might be tempted to return back to somebody, and it may not be so great. Pluto is about, because it's connected to your 5th house, passion, sex, but also it can be about heartbreak. Keep in mind, Pluto rules the South Node. So for Venus to rule the past, Libra, past relationships, Pluto rules love and relationships. Yeah, I have a feeling that it can be a little sticky, you know, but it also gives you the opportunity to potentially heal, especially if you've had issues with a family member, a female family member, a sister, you know, a female roommate, a mother figure. It gives you the opportunity to kind of like rehash that and be able to make amends. Venus-Pluto doesn't have to be all negative. It can be about finally healing a wound and like needing to have that heart-to-heart kind of conversation, so that way you can kind of finally move through it. Then on the 2nd, Venus enters Aquarius. So then Venus immediately goes into your 8th house, where it's more kind of taboo, dark, sexy. There is some kind of change or transformation happening with Venus related things. So definitely it can bring in more bonuses, more sex, more abundance. It can bring more generous people into your life. But it does seem to suggest that there is some major transformation that's going on. And Cancers, if you guys have heard me in this last year, I've talked about how Saturn in your 8th house coming into a square with both the North Node and Uranus has been this conversation about needing to define relationships and not having things in limbo. Kind of friends with benefits relationships get sticky, and so I would say be very careful, because people can come back in and there's a need to really fully define before you start seeing some of these squares take place again. whether or not you're friends or if you're something more. Then on the 7th, you're going to have a Venus cazimi in Capricorn. So this is when you're going to have Mercury cazimi Capricorn. Hello. You're going to have Mercury in the heart of the sun. Mercury rules communication. So things like text messages, emails, conversations, documents, and the 12th house of what's unseen happens in your 7th house. So some of you guys will have a dream about an ex. Or a boss that you used to work with. Some of you guys may unexpectedly get a text message or an email from somebody who you were in a relationship with in some capacity. Some of you guys might realize, like, I just need to kind of close this door, or I just need to tell them I'm done, or I just need to kind of leave them this message and then walk away. You may unexpectedly get contact also from a neighbor or a sibling as a result of that cazimi, but it may be some cold, hard truth that you need to hear about a relationship, and somebody can be particularly kind of intense with their communication in the days to follow. Then on the 9th, you're going to see Venus in Aquarius trine Mars in Gemini. So Venus is in your 8th house, dark and sexy, trining Mars. It can be like a secret kind of like love affair. It can be lots of opportunity for like sex with somebody behind the scenes. There is some change and transformation that's going on in terms of joint resources and also work. So you might be kind of working something out where you're living with somebody and working with them. There's some kind of exchange or some kind of trade maybe that's going on. That's like, well, we live together, but we work together. You know, I'm living with them because I'm doing odds and ends for them, that kind of stuff. There seems to be some exchange that's going on in terms of resources and home. Then on the 12th, you see Mars going direct in Gemini. So this is actually really good for you because I feel like it's going to help you get more of a sense of clarity in terms of where you're going with your professional life. If you've been feeling like you've been working long hours behind the scenes, staying hidden, trying to figure out what you're doing professionally, when you're going to launch something, you're going to start to feel momentum move forward, both because Mars rules your 10th house. So if you need to finally start a job or end a job, you're going to have clarity from this transit. But Jupiter has just moved into your 10th house as well. So it's time to make the time to do the kind of work that you want to do. If you need to learn a new skill, if you need to find a space to do this, if you need to go and look for a new job, it's a really good time to do all of these things. And Jupiter is bringing you all kinds of abundance when it comes to new opportunities in terms of your professional life. So maybe you're finally kind of coming out of hibernation mode and you're ready to kind of make some of these changes. On the 14th, Venus in Aquarius comes into a square with Uranus in Taurus. So something about sex, relationships, joint resources is coming into hard angles and frequencies with Uranus in the 11th house. So be careful with mixing like love and friendship, or friendship and money, or love and money. There can be a sense of, with the 8th house, you know, like what you owe people, what other people owe you. So there can be sex without love, there can be work without pay, there can be friction that you're having with female friends, and definitely some intense exchanges that could be kind of going on as a result of that square. Then on the 18th, we're going to see Mercury go direct in Capricorn. So if some of you guys have had lots of miscommunications with clients, with business partners, if you've been changing what services that you're offering, if you've been having issues with romantic partners or husbands, wives, whatever, you're going to start to see that kind of ease up. Sometimes people go in and out of relationships when they have a retrograde in their 7th house. Sometimes people come back, you try to get back together, it doesn't work, it goes direct, and then, you know, you guys finally end things. So if there's been a long, drawn out process of having conversations with a partner, are we going to be together? Are we launching a business? Are we getting married? Are we going to, you know, be, communicating any longer? Right around the time Mercury goes direct, you're going to kind of have more clarity about what direction this is going to go with relationships. I want to remind you guys that that same day, the sun comes into conjunction with Pluto. So there can be this sense of like, oh, I really value this person, I don't want to let them go. Or, oh, this is really toxic, this isn't good for me, I'm holding on to this because it brings me money or because it makes me feel safe. There is a need to really reflect on, is it actually making you feel safe, or are you with somebody for all the wrong reasons? Okay, professionally or romantically, it could go either way. Then on the 20th, the sun enters into Aquarius and it goes into your 8th house, which is putting a real highlight on once again, money, joint resources, especially those of you guys who are going through lots of changes in relationships. I could see, because the 8th house is second to the 7th, where the month ahead is then, okay, we've ended the relationship. Who gets what? How do we divide assets? How do we divide the house? Who pays what bills? So that can definitely come up as a result of the Mercury retrograde. But the sun in the 8th house is really highlighting where there is like a change and a transformation, and really looking at the shadow self. That's something you're familiar with. You've had Saturn in the sign for the last 2 years. It's finally getting ready to leave. So in a lot of ways, this is like the grand finale for Cancer, where you're finally starting to like learn and change and transmute all of this fear or pain or issues that you have with abandonment and like not getting what you need from other people. On the 23rd, Venus enters into a conjunction with Saturn. So Venus and Saturn conjunct. Interesting, because Saturn rules other people and Venus rules home and the past and like friends. So it might be a time where like a friendship really ends, or it might be a time where you really have to cut someone off, or somebody cuts you off. Unfortunately, that's just the way that it goes. To me, it seems like there is like definitive boundaries that are going to be kind of laid out when it comes to money, when it comes to joint resources, when it comes to paying taxes, when it comes to paying support in some way, or money that's owed. You can have some really kind of tough love conversations with either partners or family members as a result of this as well. On the 26th, Venus enters into Pisces, so it goes to sweeter waters. It's going to be in a sister sign in your 9th house, which means it's going to be trining or making aspects to either your sun, moon, or rising in Cancer. So water trines equal emotions, they equal passion, it equals more intuition, more empathicness. So Venus in the 9th house could be a love abroad. It could be a love of a new lecture, or a new teacher, or a new book. It could be a love that you have of a new home, or that you're thinking about going and visiting family in another place. But like I said, because it's going to be in harmonious aspect, because it's a water sign, I feel like it can be a wonderful time to start planning a trip or thinking about going somewhere, especially somewhere where there's water, or where there's going to be a course or something that's like more metaphysical. And then on the 29th, we're going to see the sun in Aquarius trine Mars in Gemini. So the sun will be in your 8th house of change and transformation. It's trining Mars in Gemini, which is direct. So to me, it seems like you're finally working yourself out of a situation where you're no longer in your head, or you're no longer feeling short of cash, or you're no longer feeling stuck. Like you're finally embracing some change in your resources, or potentially even some change when it comes to your values, and you might be getting some more support. This is in water houses though, so it's weird to have like the sun and Mars in water houses. So it's about how you're communicating and being able to embrace change, and learning to kind of cope with like learning to let something go, and that it's absolutely necessary in the process of you having more success moving forward, especially when it comes to your professional life. Okay? All right, so let's take a look. Let's see what the cards say for you, Cancer, for the month ahead, and what you may be anticipating in January. Okay, the card that I get is the Magician. All right, cool. Great card. This is about manifestation. This is about making things happen. This is about creativity. This is about skills, resources, desires, right? When the Magician comes up, it's as above, so below. So there's like a lot of you realizing that you're in the driver's seat of your own life, that if you want to make things happen, you have to make things happen. You're no longer focusing on clinging to the past. You're more focused on how you can move forward, and willpower, and bringing things into fruition. It can also be just a time where you're just really manifesting. And I would say pay close attention to your emotions, because having Jupiter in your 10th house right now is saying the future is bright. You just have to be willing to kind of take the initiative and go and spearhead some things. Don't be afraid, right? Because that can also vibrate outward, and then you can bring more challenges for yourself as well. When the Magician comes up, it's saying that there are magical things that are at play, and you have the opportunity to create your own reality. So act accordingly. Good luck. For my Leos and Leo risings, hopefully you guys are doing well. Welcome to January of 2023. The month is going to kick off on the 1st with Venus in conjunction to Pluto. So this will be happening in Capricorn, okay? Now, Pluto rules your 4th house of home and the past or family, and Venus rules your 10th house of career and responsibility. So to see Venus and Pluto come together in the 6th makes me feel like you might have like an issue with like a joint, like a family member or roommate. It makes me feel like there can also be some kind of issue in regards to, you know, a family member having a health-related issue, which in turn can impact your schedule or your ability to go to work. It can be a time where you're focusing on making changes in regards to your home life to kind of better further your career. You realize you need to stay on track and on schedule in order to make that happen. You may be focusing all month long, because there's so many planets in Capricorn, on scheduling and health and consistency and staying on top of things and getting organized. So the Venus-Pluto connection can mean like, hey, I got to clean my house, or I got to clean up my diet, or I got to change my work schedule, so that way I can feel more productive. Then on the 2nd of the month, we're going to see Venus enter into Aquarius. So Venus enters into your 7th house of relationships, which I think is great because it's going to bring you more opportunities for partnership and togetherness. If you're single and you're looking to meet someone, this transit can bring somebody in. It can bring in somebody who's different and unique. It can be a relationship that starts as a friendship. It can also be somebody that you meet in an unconventional way, like the internet or through a group of friends. Great for clients, great for also services. If you have your own business, or if you're looking to drum up more business, that can definitely bring people in as well, because the 7th house is partnership and Venus rules your 10th. So it's going to bring more opportunities for professional collaboration. On the 7th, we're going to see a Sun-Mercury cazimi that's taking place in the sign of Capricorn. Now, this will be taking place in your 6th house. This is that midway point through the Mercury retrograde. So if you're asking yourself, what the heck am I doing? Like, what direction are things going in? Is this getting reorganized? Like, am I going to find a solution to my health issue? Am I going back to work? Is my pet going to be okay? The Sun cazimi is really important, because that's when you kind of get some kind of direction from the universe in terms of which way this is going to fall, but also because it's going to involve the sun. So it definitely is about you or your body. The question is how hard are you willing to work to find productivity, to have better health, to find the perfect job? And it can be a time where some of you guys are like, this isn't worth this. I'm working too hard, or my daily routine isn't working for me, or I need to change doctors, or I need to change my diet. So there can be some epiphany that you have in regards to that. It can also be going like, I don't get paid enough for this. So some of you guys might actually decide that you want to change jobs. Throughout the entire Mercury retrograde, it's going to trine Uranus and the North Node in the 10th, which means some of you guys are kind of like, do I want to work for myself? Do I work for other people? Do I want to go back to work? Do I need to focus on my health before I can kind of focus on some of my professional plans? So it's been trying to get you to think about these things all along. And the 6th house is being of service. So it can just be that you're feeling like there's just more burdens of having to do things at work, and there's more to check off your to-do list in general. On the 9th of the month, we're going to see Venus in an Aquarius, trine Mars in Gemini. So we're going to have Venus up here. It's in a trine to Mars, and it makes me feel like lots of opportunity for harmonizing with friends, relationships with people socially, introducing romantic partners to friends, and vice versa. It can be a time where you get set up with somebody as well. And traveling with friends or doing things seems to be like a theme, especially as we see Jupiter come into sextile with early degrees of Aquarius. The bigger picture of relationships are becoming unveiled, and not all relationships have to be romantic, but it is realizing that some of the best people in your life are people who start as a friend first. So some relationships can blossom after kind of starting more so as kind of like a platonic friendship. Then on the 12th, we're going to see Mars go direct in Gemini. So if you've been feeling like there's been some agitation or challenges in initiating your goals, if you've had delays with traveling or issues with friends with traveling, this is going to get cleared up. The Mars retrograde isn't as significant for a Leo chart, but still, I feel like your goals, maybe you have been feeling like you've been putting them on hold. I think that this can also create some challenges for you in terms of some of your friendships, and that you've either had problems with friends, or you don't share the same philosophy as some people, or you've had to cut back on traveling for whatever reason. This stuff is going to start to clear up for you a little bit more. On the 14th, Venus in Aquarius comes into square with Uranus and Taurus. You're definitely going to feel this because Venus moves deeper into your 7th house of relationships. You'll see it square the nodes, so fateful events in relationships and friendships will take place. And then Venus will square Uranus. Venus rules career, Uranus rules relationships. So there can definitely be like a turning point where if you've been having a romantic relationship with a boss or somebody at work, things become like very tense. If you have been working with a romantic partner and there has been some tension, it might really fully kind of come into full view. This can be some definitive changes going on in terms of your public reputation or your relationship. So you might go from being single to being married or engaged, from being married to being like, I'm single, I'm done. And now we're also dividing assets or we're dividing a business if you guys work together. So much more pressure when it comes to just your relationships with people out in the public eye in general. Even more complex if you guys are in a romantic relationship. On the 18th, Mercury goes direct in Capricorn. So to me, this seems like whatever is being held back in terms of a decision that you're making with your health or your schedule or what you're eating, it becomes clear. You might realize like, hey, this isn't good for me, or this isn't working for my schedule. This isn't healthy. So it's time to make a change. And it'll be the same day that Pluto comes into conjunction with the sun. So some of you guys are going to go, I quit this. I quit this habit, I quit this job, I quit this schedule, I quit this relationship, something like that's going to happen. And you're going to be like, this is just not a good habit for me to have. I got to kind of kick it to the curb. Then on the 20th, the sun enters into Aquarius, and that's really highlighting, because the sun rules your chart, relationships with others. But remember that the 7th house is about airing things out. Remember also that Aquarius is what's unique or different. So it can still be kind of picking up where some of these transits have been leaving off, where it's saying like the energy shifts from, I need to transform or totally flip this relationship. I need to kind of go from being friends to being romantic, or go from being romantic to being like just friends or being detached. You will see some of the same energies that you've seen over the last 2 years, especially Leo rising charts. Whenever planets go through Aquarius or Taurus or Scorpio, it activates this grand fixed cross. So actually Aquarius season is quite active for you. Look back to last year in January and February, what really significant turning points happened in some of your relationships with other people or your public reputation. Because likely you find that there's just a lot more energy where it's about other people, and it definitely affects your future career, and it also affects your emotions. It is meant to have pressure, but it'll ease up as we get closer to the second half of February. On the 23rd of the month, we're going to see Venus and Saturn come into conjunction. So Venus rules career and anything in regards to what's public. Saturn is going to be about work, commitment, responsibility, being of service. So I feel like this can be a time where some of you guys say, yes, I will take that job on, even though it's a lot of responsibility, or yes, I will commit to you all in due time. Venus Saturn can be engagements, it can be marriages, it can be business partnerships, business mergers, telling somebody you love them for the first time, or telling somebody that it doesn't feel good in terms of what's going on with the relationship. So karmic sacrifices when it comes to friendships and relationships is kind of what's taking place for you. They don't all have to be bad. They can be positive. On the 26th, then we see Venus leave Aquarius. It goes into Pisces. It's going to be in your 8th house, which is sexual. It can be kind of taboo, more secretive, but great for inheritances, benefits, extra money, joint resources, gains in general. So it's what you gain after the relationships or the commitments that are going on earlier in the month. Obviously, Venus has connections to contracts and communications as well as business. So I feel like you're talking about, okay, what do we have to sign? What are we agreeing to? What are our meetings? What are our goals? Let's get it all out on paper. And on the 29th, the sun in Aquarius will trine Mars in Gemini. So we're going to see the sun in your 7th house, trining Mars over here in your 11th house. Really good energy for you, Leo, because the sun rules your chart. So you're kind of feeling like, okay, things are coming together, relationships are improving. It's incentivizing me to focus more on taking action with my goals or with my friends. So it can be a time where like counselors, therapists, people are pushing you to focus on your goals. People are pushing you to associate more with friends. You might feel like you're spent with all the stuff that's going on with your relationship energy, and it's pushing you to kind of focus more on your community. And there may be people who come into your life that say, don't worry so much about your relationships, keep your eyes on the prize, focus on your career, keep moving forward. And they're encouraging you to focus on your goals. And so this can be a day where like a lot of that is coming into alignment and the right people fall into place who are meant to kind of be in your life, right? Okay. All right, so let's take a look and let's see what the cards say for you, my Leos, and what you might be expecting for the month ahead. Of course you would get the Sun. Of course you would get the Sun card. Funny story. So when I mean, my whole office was like in boxes these last couple of days. I moved pretty much halfway across the country. And I was kind of scrambling to get stuff out and just unpacking all of my crystals and all of my books and everything. And intuitively, I was like, okay, you know, we're coming up on the solstice and it's the darkest point, at least for us here in the Northern Hemisphere. And I just noticed the weather is very different where I'm living, and it's kind of cloudy and it's like cold. And I just started grabbing warmer things. So I like grabbed like my carnelian and my orange calcite and what else? My citrine, my smoky quartz, like things that were just like warmer. And I started putting them all together. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to put out some candles. And I got gifted a really beautiful orange candle. And then I was looking for my tarot deck. And I was like, okay, you know, I really feel like I need the Sun card. I'm going to find the Sun card because this all kind of came together, bringing more warmth into the picture. Anyway, of course, I opened the deck and the first card that is sitting on the top of the deck is the Sun, right? So this has been a really important card for me recently. Pure positivity, ultimate happiness, success, right? Confidence, sunshine, truth. Being able to focus on what's going to bring joy, what's going to make you happy, getting to the heart of the situation and focusing on a positive outcome. So even though some of the things that come up over the next month might feel a bit tedious, it feels like you have to kind of cut people off or cut things off, or you need to make changes, or you need to make some huge shifts in your routine and your habits, you're positive and you're optimistic about it because you know that you have to do it because it's going to be for your best good, right? So try to think of it like that. Try not to kind of beat yourself up and go, well, I have to make this sacrifice and let that person go and let this thing go or quit that job. Try to kind of maintain a glass is half full silver lining, or I guess in this case, gold lining type of perspective of yes, but this is going to bring me, you know, more happiness and more joy down the road, right? Stay positive, stay optimistic. Good luck, my Leos. Now we have Virgo and Virgo rising. Hello, hopefully you're doing well. Welcome to January of 2023. Happy New Year to you guys. The month is going to kick off with Venus-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn in your natal 5th house. Wowzers! All right, so first of all, Capricorn is a sister sign. It is a fellow earth sign. My Virgos, you guys are going to be experiencing lots of earth trines, especially if you're a Virgo rising. I mean, anything Virgo, because we're going to see throughout the Mercury retrograde trines from your chart ruler to North Node Uranus in the 9th, having you focus on your belief system, the bigger picture, travel, education, you know, all that stuff. And earth trines produce physical change. So some of you guys might physically look different, physically learn something, physically travel somewhere, physically take a class, start a new hobby, something like that. All right, so Venus and Pluto, that is a rather intoxicating kind of combination because it does represent temptation, sex, things that can be darker in nature. Venus in regards to your chart has associations with values and resources. It also has connections to your higher belief system and travel. So some of you guys might be feeling like, oh, I'm really falling in love with a new belief system. I'm really falling in love with a person who lives at a distance. I'm really feeling the temptation to possibly, like, you know, buy that set of classes or buy that expensive book or, you know, get first class for my airplane tickets. There can be some uncovering things relating to a broken heart and trying to heal a broken heart with Venus and Pluto in the 5th house, or any kind of trauma, romantic trauma, childhood trauma that can be coming up for you as well. It can also be a time where you just have an encounter with like a very sexy person. That's possible also. Then on the 2nd of January, we see Venus leave that conjunction and it moves into Aquarius in your 6th house, where you're focusing more on love of gadgets, love of your daily routine. It can be a time where you treat yourself to some new gym equipment, you get a new gym membership, you're spending a little bit more money on food or health, and kind of getting a head start also on your New Year's resolutions. Venus in the 6th can mean that you're beautifying or sprucing up or organizing also your workplace. That can be something else that you're doing. On the 7th, the Sun and Mercury come into a cazimi in Capricorn. This is important because Mercury rules your chart. So as Mercury pulls ahead of the Sun, there can be like a dream about a past lover, a romantic connection, something comes out about a child or children or your childhood. It can also be a time where there is some kind of unveiling or some kind of truth or something in regards to a romantic union. Pay attention to your dreams. That's really important, and also just what you're most passionate about. That's the midway point to the Mercury retrograde. So that's also when you're going to start to realize what your heart's desire is, or what truth needs to come out about what's going to bring you joy. On the 9th, Venus will come into a trine with Mars. So Venus in your 6th house, trining Mars in your 10th. More harmonious connections with coworkers, a healthier routine, things that are feeling like it's just flowing a little bit better. Some of you guys might be in a new office. Some of you guys might be taking new jobs, and now you're kind of starting to feel the effects physically of this new schedule. Some of you guys might start seeing some changes if you're focusing on your health and your wellness by this point. You might start actually feeling that and getting into the swing of routine a little bit better as well, okay? Working well with other people also, I could see that kind of coming full circle. Then on the 12th, Mars is going to go direct in your 10th house. Yay! This has been quite wild for you guys. You have had Mars here for a number of months. Even though the retrograde ends, the square doesn't end until closer to the month of March. But if you guys have been changing jobs, switching jobs, if you got laid off, if you've been trying to find a job, all of this stuff is going to kind of sort itself out, because now Mars will have more power being direct in your house of career. The challenge, though, is in the weeks ahead, you're going to still see squares between Mars and also planets in Pisces. So it's going to be, okay, I'm moving forward with career, but what's going on with my relationships, right? What's changing in terms of my partnerships with other people. So just keep that in mind. But for the most part, this agitation in terms of feeling like you're having to do so much work, or that you're going back and forth between jobs. When a planet goes direct, it's like no longer reevaluating things. It's getting ready to make a change. So what's been internal now becomes external. So if you've been planning on quitting, changing jobs, launching jobs, taking a new job, you may actually take action there after this point. On the 14th of the month, Venus in Aquarius comes into a square with Uranus in Taurus. So this is quite significant. Venus in the 6th house, which can talk about relations with coworkers and scheduling and health, comes into friction with Uranus. So it's almost like work, what you've organized, or health is going to come into friction with like travel plans, education plans. You're going to see some shifts that are going to happen there. I feel like this might represent, you know, just so much work that needs to be done that you're not feeling like you have the time for travel. You're not feeling like you have the time to take a class. And there's some frustration because there's some clashes going on within your schedule in general. I think Venus in Aquarius, you know, the 6th house also can be enemies. So you might realize that there are some things that are going on at work where some people may not truly be your friend. This to me also screams that if you're involved in like a lawsuit or anything in regards to like funds or resources that would be connected to education, or if there's something going on in regards to like a class action lawsuit, or if there's something going on with health, like a legal lawsuit involving an injury, that can also be kind of coming up, especially like workman's comp stuff with like 6th house. Then on the 18th, we see Mercury go direct in Capricorn. So this is important, like I said, because Mercury rules yourself and your body. But as it goes direct in your 5th house, you're like more aware of, oh, I love this thing, or I enjoy this, or this brings me joy. Some of you guys have used the Mercury retrograde to sort out an issue with a child, to sort out an issue with communication with a romantic partner. You might be going back and forth with a romantic partner as well. And it might be you being the one who's going back and forth. You're probably having a more difficult time communicating with them or communicating with a younger person. The same day that Mercury goes direct and the retrograde ends, The sun comes into conjunction with Pluto. So you may realize that there's some sense of your fears getting in the way, something hidden or unexpected getting in the way, something that's keeping you from being able to really kind of connect in a heart-centered way. And it's more relating to fear or abandonment or something that's just finally becoming clear to you that's deep within your subconscious. On the 20th, the sun enters into Aquarius, highlighting work, sacrifice, health, and your schedule for the better part of the next few weeks. Shortly after that, on the 23rd, Venus comes into conjunction with Saturn as well. And so to me, this seems like you're committing to a new health routine, a new diet routine. There can be love available in the office or in the office space. There can be you dedicating more time to something of service that you feel very connected to as well, and commitments that you're making just when it comes to improving your health overall. On the 26th of the month, then we see Venus enter into Pisces, and it moves into your opposite sign in your 7th house, which is wonderful. As Venus goes through the 7th house, it brings opportunity for relationships. Single people can meet people. You can be feeling like people are just walking up to you and talking to you more. They're more receptive of you. This can also be a time where there is much more love and affection going on in existing relationships. Later in the year, you'll see in the spring, Saturn's coming into your 7th house as well. So to me, it seems like the Mercury retrograde's been a lot of like, do I want to date? Am I in love with this thing? Am I in love with this person? Do I want more? Do I want to have children? And then what we're going to see is more serious commitments kind of coming up here over the next couple of months as Saturn approaches Pisces. But enjoy the Venus transit. It'll move through your 7th house. It'll sextile Uranus in the North Node. So there's an opportunity to kind of travel with people or learn more about them in the bigger picture of relationships. And we'll also see on the other side sextiles that are taking place to Pluto. So relationships are really going to blossom and evolve. And it can be a wonderful time for those of you guys who are single, who are serious about finding love. And then finally on the 29th, the sun in Aquarius will come into a trine with Mars and Gemini. Very powerful energy because Mars is about change and transformation. The sun is going to be about what is kind of like hidden. So I feel like watching this trine happen from your 6th house to your 10th house is you realizing that you need to take action and be more assertive and kind of fix something, clean something up, take responsibility, lead a team. A lot of you guys have been really just kind of bogged down with your schedule with Saturn and Aquarius, realizing that you have to work harder to work as a team with somebody else, or that you're having to work in a much more kind of remote area. So it's been harder to get things done, but you're going to be feeling like everything's kind of coming together a little bit better post Mercury retrograde at the end of the month. And the sun trine Mars, I feel like you're going to see the full transformation of either your health goals or your organizational skills or your ability to get work done, and things are going to be flowing a lot more better. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at what the cards have to say for you, my Virgos, for January of 2023. The card that I get is, the Page of Cups. I think this is about new relationship opportunities. I think Venus going into your 7th house is that. I think the Mercury retrograde in the 5th is a lot of reevaluating your feelings. This is a card that can be connected to a younger water sign, so like a Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. Page of Cups is the inner child, possibilities, intuitive messages, creativity, sensitivity. It can be the blossoming of a new romantic relationship. It can be about you getting more curious about romantic possibilities and having connections that are more lighthearted. It's not serious and commitment oriented. It's just falling in love again or getting back on the horse and getting out there and meeting people again and finding the opportunity to just meet people who are going to help you open up more, right? That's really what this is about, but still in an innocent way. It's not all about sex and passion. It's just like learning to fall in love again, fall in love with a person, a thing, a situation, what have you. If you have children, it can be about a younger person in your life and them just being a little bit more sensitive than usual in the next month. But for the most part, I think that this is going to have you really open and almost like a little bit more idealistic than usual when it comes to joy or being able to experience romance. And for some of you guys, it can be an opportunity to meet somebody new. So look out for that. Good luck. All right, so for Libra and Libra rising, welcome to January 2023. I hope you're doing well. Welcome back. I'm excited to see what the cosmos have in store for you, Libra. The month kicks off with a very important transit. So you're going to be having Venus, your chart ruler, coming into conjunction with Pluto in Capricorn. That's going to be on January the 1st, although you may feel it a couple days before, a couple days after. Venus rules your body and Venus is you, so wherever Venus goes is what you may expect. Venus also has connections to your 8th house of joint resources and other people. So being that Venus is moving through the 4th house, it's bringing your attention to your home, your family, your roots, your domestic zone. And Venus can be about art, decorations, anything in regards to your values and resources, and it's going to come into conjunction with Pluto. So there is a profound transformation of your home space. This can be physically, this can be emotionally, this can also be in regards to property and real estate matters, and it can also bring some real heated exchanges with family members, particularly older women or people who you're living with in general. Now, Pluto has connections to your money and your resources, so you're really serious or you're investing seriously in your home or your home zone. In the midst of this also, obviously, you have Mercury going retrograde through your 4th house. So for all the cardinal signs, right, Aries and Cancer, you Libra, and also Capricorn, you guys are really feeling the pressure of this because now we have a Mercury retrograde and we also have Jupiter in a cardinal sign. So there's lots of change going on in several different areas in your life right now. Watch for heated emotional exchanges with loved ones, but also Venus-Pluto has the opportunity to open up a wound, heal it, and transform it in some way. So some of you guys are transforming your view of family, transforming your view of home and relationships with your parents. On the 2nd of the month, Venus is going to leave Capricorn. It's going to move into Aquarius and it's going to move into your 5th house, which is where Venus is very happy. This is about romance and fun and games and children and taking chances and taking risks. Venus here is going to make positive aspects to your sign because it's in a sister sign. So you're going to see trines to your sun, moon, or rising, which means that you're kind of in harmony with your children. You're in harmony with romantic partners. You're in harmony with having fun, with hobbies. And you're also going to see Venus make some positive aspects to Mars. So Venus going into Aquarius is really great for you, Libra. I think that you're going to enjoy it and it brings you the opportunity to just have a little bit more playtime, whether that's with your loved ones or with your children. On the 7th, you're going to see a Sun-Mercury cazimi taking place in Capricorn, and this will be the halfway point through the Mercury retrograde. So this basically means if you've been reorganizing, restructuring your home, if you've been looking for a new home, or if you've been trying to handle a real estate or a property matter, or if there is some need to kind of gain some insight and wisdom from the cosmos in terms of what this Mercury retrograde has been about, this will be the day that you're likely going to get that insight and that information. It can be a conversation you have with a parent or a family member that is rather unexpected. Because Mercury rules your 12th house and also the 9th house, it also might be something in regards to learning about your family or your country of origin, so learning more about your past history. Objects that go missing, especially if you've been in the midst of reorganizing or a move, or partners who are family members who have gone missing, and who you haven't connected with in some time, may also turn up during this transit. On the 9th, you have Venus in Aquarius, trine Mars in Gemini. So Venus is in your 5th house of romance. It's in a trine with Mars, which rules your relationship. So to me, it seems like playing hooky, a day off, having an adventure, going on a trip might just be what the doctor ordered, especially if you're planning on doing this with a younger person or romantic partner even. They may be incentivizing you to go and do something different, to kind of break free and have some fun. When Venus and Mars are in positive harmony, it's great because it's like you and romantic partners, or you and just partnerships in general, they go a lot more smoothly because Mars rules your 7th house. This may also be a time where you're learning something new, or you're taking a hobby to the next step and you're doing some kind of training, or you're taking some kind of course, or maybe you're teaching a course, or you're going to be publishing something in regards to a talent that you have. On the 12th, we are then going to see Mars go direct in Gemini. So after several months of Mars being retrograde in Gemini in your 9th house, where you have possibly experienced delays with education, challenges with travel, delays with your belief system, maybe you've been taking longer drives, maybe you have been putting off a move, whatever's been going on, that Mars retrograde is going to settle down now and Mars is going to go direct. The 9th house is all about the bigger picture of your life and what your philosophy is and where you're traveling to and what you believe in. So when Mars goes direct, it looks like you're going to have a better understanding of your philosophy in regards to life and relationships, and your dealings with teachers, mentors, and also gurus may improve as well. On the 14th, Venus in Aquarius squares Uranus in Taurus. So Venus in your 5th house of playtime, lovers, and children, your personal joy comes into friction with Uranus in the 8th house. So this is important, Libra, because Venus rules your chart. Venus in the 5th house is your own personal joy, your own personal pleasure. And the square to Uranus in the 8th house is other people's resources, other people's investments, other people's priorities. To me, it seems like this can be a day where there's a bit of like a clash between your values and somebody else's. Challenges also with joint resources, especially involving investments, and maybe even some disruptions that you have either with your children or romantic partners. Not a day to take risks financially. Be very careful because big risk may not provide a big reward. It can be something that can be a bit disruptive financially for you here. And then on the 18th, you're going to see Mercury go direct in Capricorn. So the Mercury retrograde technically ends. So if you're a Libra or Libra rising who's been trying to sort out a home or a family issue, or get your house in order, or sell a home, relocate, sign a lease, any of these things are going to get a little bit easier once Mercury goes direct. However, the same day that it goes direct, the Sun comes into conjunction with Pluto. So I see this as a completion of your goals, where you're realizing like what's important to you when it comes to home life, family life, emotions. You may really start to see the change and the transformation within yourself emotionally or physically within your home right around this point. Now on the 20th, the Sun then enters into Aquarius, moving into your 5th house, bringing the joy and really highlighting what it means to have fun, have a good time, enjoy yourself, and really shine. So this is about you possibly going on more adventures, having more fun, playing more with your children, getting back into dating. This is about, you living life and really enjoying yourself. I've told all of the signs, but especially for you, the last few years, Saturn going through your 5th house, you had to work really hard to express yourself or to enjoy yourself. Maybe you feel like because of obligations to your job or obligations to your children, it's just harder for you to find the joy and find happiness. And so really the next month as planets move through Aquarius is going to be about you really reflecting on creating your own happiness, creating your own joy, and really committing to that. Then on the 23rd, you're going to see Venus come into conjunction with Saturn. So many Venus aspects. You and Taurus are really going to be feeling this a lot this month. Venus, when it comes into conjunction with Saturn, is like a serious commitment or some kind of something coming into formation. It can be commitment in regards to having a child, children, true love, and also just some of your talents and things that make you happy in general. It can be a time of big accomplishments if you have children. It can be a time also where there's some big accomplishments that are coming up if you are self-employed. Saturn rules your 4th house of home. And like I said, you are Venus. So whatever you've been working hard to achieve or grow or develop, you really start to kind of like see the blossoming and the blooming of that with Saturn and Venus coming into conjunction. Equally, it can be a time where you're falling in love with something or someone, or you're saying, I love you for the very first time. And you're going to realize that all creative things are a labor of love. On the 26th, we are then going to see Venus move into Pisces, into your 6th house. So that is putting a highlight basically on anything in regards to health, your daily routine, wellness, things that are going to be bringing you the opportunity to really focus on your schedule, right? So I look at like Venus and Pisces in the 6th house and I'm like, well, it's a great time to drop into a meditation class, doing some laps in the pool, going to a spa, you know, anything that is going to be incorporating the energy of water and the 6th house, which is about health, but it's also about spiritual well-being and renewal. So you might be finding that it's a great time to kind of be finding time to really prioritize mental health, as well as like diet and anything connecting to patterns and habits. Okay, but it's gonna go much more smoothly with Venus going through this part of your chart. You might also find that you're enjoying your daily routines more, spending time with animals or pets, and it might also be there's just more harmony in the workspace. Then on the 29th of the month, we're going to be seeing the Sun in Aquarius come into a trine with Mars in Gemini. So at this point, Mars is direct. The Sun is in your 5th house, shining a light on what makes you happy, and it's trining to Mars in the 9th. So it's like maybe you're going on a vacation, maybe you're teaching a class, taking a course, publishing something, writing something, traveling somewhere. It's like you're having to really communicate and share what makes you happy. So there's some aspect of like either storytelling or like sagey life advice that's coming through. Maybe your goals in regards to having fun and taking a vacation is lining up with a partner's, and you guys are making plans to physically go somewhere because Mars in the 9th house can be planning a trip perhaps, okay? So outside of the Mercury retrograde, for the most part, a pretty decent month on tap, lots of Venus aspects. So you're definitely going to be feeling the changes. So much of these lessons with the Mercury retrograde Libra is about letting go of the past and embracing the future. Let's see what the cards have to say for you. The card that I get is the Wheel of Fortune. So cool. So this is like basically saying like fortune being in your favor. This talks a lot about Jupiter, which is interesting. Like I'm a Libra rising, having Jupiter come back into Aries is obviously squaring all of these 4 points, you know? So it's just new stuff all around very quickly, but life cycles, destiny, things changing, unexpected events, the universe being in control and trying to bring you new opportunities. That's going to be really good for renewal. So try to look at it as like positive change, even though it feels very overwhelming and that everything is coming very quickly all at one time. I also think that this does talk about cycles and changes, and like where there is resistance to change is probably what you're kind of needing to work on letting go. So a lot of it is about letting go and trusting the process. Okay. Good luck, Libra. For my Scorpio and Scorpio risings, welcome to January of 2023. I'm still getting used to saying that. Hopefully you're doing well. Let's take a look at what we've got going on in the month ahead. We kick off on the 1st with Venus conjunct Pluto, and this is going to be in the sign of Capricorn in your 3rd house. Now this is important because you are co-ruled by Pluto, so when conjunctions happen to Pluto or aspects to Pluto, you feel it equally. It is your modern ruler. It's taking place in your 3rd house, which means there's obviously opportunity for transformation of communication, transformation of the mind, transformation of what you're learning, and something about like your day-to-day. I feel like this is bringing up this theme of changing the way that you think and then therefore changing the way that you communicate. So this has been an ongoing process for you. Obviously, you've got Mercury retrograde and a slew of other planets in your 3rd house. So there is a lot of working with gadgets, communicating, running errands, running around town, having to talk to people, working out any kinks in regards to communication. So there can be like issues with technology, issues with the mail, problems with travel or transportation, losing documents. Like these are kind of like Mercury retrograde things in the 3rd. But I think the Venus conjunction to Pluto is very interesting because you may get some very insightful information from a partner. So Venus rules your 7th house, which can be your romantic partner. So if you're partnered or if you're married, it'll come from that person. Equally, it can be a business partner or it can be possibly like a client. even like neighbors, somebody's going to let you in on some kind of information, or have like a profound conversation with you that's meant to be like kind of changing in terms of the way that you see the world. Watch out for that and be mindful that you're going to get a lot further with sugar than you are with vinegar, because Venus-Pluto can be some really heated, intense exchanges. So watch how you're thinking and how you're communicating with other people, and be mindful that you're going to get a lot of feedback in terms of like the way that you communicate with others as a result of that transit. On the 2nd, Scorpio, we have Venus move into Aquarius in your 4th house, where she is blessing all kinds of changes within your physical home base. So Venus going through the 4th house, more positive, harmonious interactions that you're going to have with family. You might be visiting family members might be visiting you. There is a sense of decorating and creating more comfort and beauty within the home. But Venus in Aquarius can be what's unusual, what's futuristic. So you might be getting like new gadgets and technology, or maybe you're having friends over at your house for the holidays. But definitely decorating or renovating or revamping something in regards to your home can happen, especially by help of a designer or a partner as Venus moves through your 4th house. Now on the 7th, you're going to see a Sun-Mercury cazimi, and that's going to take place in Capricorn, and that's the midway point of the Mercury retrograde. So if you don't know what the purpose of the Mercury retrograde is, if you don't know what you're supposed to be learning, look around this day for some kind of insight from the universe. It'll be interesting because the Sun rules your career, and it's going to come into conjunction with Mercury. So it feels to me like there is this aha moment or this epiphany in regards to, I can do this better, or I have realized what my goal is professionally, or I'm going to write this blog, or I'm going to put out this podcast. There's something that's going to kind of like switch on for you in terms of like media and communication. And it might even be a really important conversation that you have in regards to business. So watch for that. On the 9th, Venus in Aquarius will trine Mars in Gemini. So we're going to see Venus that's in your 4th house, sprucing up the home environment, trining Mars. I love it because Venus and Mars is the rulers of you and your partners. So you're working hand in hand with another person to totally change and transform your home zone and make it different, unique, more independent, futuristic, possibly even a little bit more modern. More opportunities for sex, intimacy, growth of joint resources, and also talking about how you can grow anything in regards to like property matters. So what money you're investing in property, what you're paying, what you're getting back. It can also be a lot of like family matters relating to wills and estates and inheritance as well. I would say pay attention, because just days later on the 12th, Mars is going to go direct in Gemini. And this is really important for you in Aries risings because you're co-ruled by Mars. So Mars rules your body, and it also rules your 6th house of health and routine. So also, I think that Mars going direct is about you getting on a much more consistent, healthier kind of wavelength, making more time for independence, more time for fitness, more time for getting organized, and you're learning a lot more also about health and wellness with Jupiter in your 6th. You know, Mars has been in your 8th house for a period of time, and it's very comfortable there, but when it's retrograde, there can be frustrations and delays with getting paid. It can be frustrations and delays also with taxes and documents and inheritances or insurance claims. So Mars turning direct, it can result in these things moving forward, or it can result in also you finally kind of detoxing and purging and cleansing something that has not been healthy for the mind, for the lungs, or possibly even for your intimate relationship. So if you've noticed there's been a dip in your sex drive, it'll come back here as well with Mars kind of coming back online. It'll take until about March for it to come out of the square with Neptune, so it's still going to be in the shadow for a period of time, but still things get a little bit easier. So if you've been putting off surgical procedures, if you've been putting off renovations, if you've been putting off loans, all these things can get easier now that Mars is direct. Then on the 14th, we're going to see Venus in Aquarius square Uranus in Taurus. So this is a little sticky. So you've got Venus in your 4th house, which does represent the relationships or the harmony with family and also like a partnership. You're no stranger to this energy. For 2 years, you have seen Saturn in Aquarius square off with Uranus in Taurus. So whether this is like partners not getting along with family, or if this is like partners getting restless in the home and wanting to move or wanting a change in the domestic zone, you're going to see a little bit of this flare up kind of come back up again. It can be harder when Venus squares Uranus to, practice diplomacy and balance and fairness and keep everybody happy. To me, it seems like there can be a bit of like a conflict in regards to what one person wants going on within the home zone and what the other person has preference-wise. So somebody may not like the color of the blinds that you purchase. You might find that there is some friction between what a partner wants and what your family wants, and there is a bit of like a tug of war. Now, if you're single, this is easier to deal with. It might manifest as you kind of having a little bit of friction with a family member, having to kind of hash that out and a parent getting involved. And those of you guys who are partnered, it's definitely a little bit more tricky. So try to tread lightly around the 13th through the 15th until that square kind of ends. Then on the 18th of the month, Mercury goes direct in Capricorn. Yay! So the Mercury retrograde's over, even though the shadow is going to go into the beginning of February. If you've been waiting to move, buy something, sign a lease, or even just sign a contract of some kind, or initiate something, or write something, this is going to get easier now that Mercury is direct. And interestingly enough, when it goes direct, the sun is going to be in conjunction to Pluto. And that's important because it's about you taking action and initiating a conversation or starting something new. So if you're wanting to move, learn a language, buy a new gadget, all of these things, like wait until closer to after this date, and then things should go a little bit more smoothly. On the 20th of the month, the sun moves into Aquarius, where it will spend 3 weeks highlighting your 4th house, which is your home, your property, your roots, and your past. Family comes under this as well as the sun goes into the 4th house. I won't call them burdens, but you're going to feel much more responsibility or heavy karmic kind of themes in regards to your home ties. Some people have to go back home and be with family. Other people have to take on more responsibility around the home, or there's more things to fix, or there's more things to kind of do, running around and getting stuff done within the home base. The sun represents your 10th house of career. So some of you guys are just realizing that, you have to be with family or help take care of a parent. And that's part of the responsibility. It's been 2 long years of Saturn in your 4th house. And I know for Scorpio placements, it has not been easy, especially with the Uranus squares. The next month and a half is like the grand finale. So those of you guys who have been using the energy to clear karmic debt with family, to sell a house, to move into your first apartment, to finally break off from a relationship and to find your own space, you're going to start to see the fruit of that kind of coming up in this next month. On the 23rd, we see Venus in Aquarius coming into conjunction with Saturn in Aquarius. And so personally, I really like it because it makes me feel like there is much more serious commitment going on in relationships. So there can be like a renewal of your commitment with existing partners. There can be finally recognizing and coming into this realization of like all of the hard work that you've been putting into a home project. There can also be life-changing things happening in regards to relationships because Venus rules the 7th house and you're kind of clearing some kind of either family karma or some relationship karma. It can be about a big accomplishment for a woman in the family. So there can be news of engagements, or that somebody is getting married, or that somebody's getting ready to have a kid, or somebody's buying their first house. That can come up as well. On the 26th, Venus leaves Aquarius, moves into Pisces, and it will be in a sister sign in your 5th house. So my Scorpios, Venus moving into your 5th house, it's very romantic, very happy there. It's great also for investments, creativity, arts, dance, music, more peaceful, harmonious relationships with children. It will be making a trine to your Scorpio placements and also a sextile to Taurus in your 7th house. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but in the next couple of months, Saturn and Pisces will go into your 5th house, Scorpio. So it is about getting serious about matters of the heart, about love, romance, and even having children. When that happens, it's going to start coming into sextiles with both the North Node and Uranus, and eventually Jupiter in your 7th house. So those of you guys who are single, looking for love, looking for commitment, it might happen very quickly. Those of you guys who are in existing relationships, they will continue to kind of grow very rapidly, and it might be more so about innovations and changes in the relationships and creating the space potentially to build a family or a creative project together. So look forward to that. I think Venus is going to start to show you the glimmers. But those of you guys who are single, dating, romance, all that stuff is definitely on the agenda throughout this transit. And then finally on the 29th, the sun in Aquarius will trine Mars in Gemini. So the sun that is hanging out in your 4th house of home, trining Mars, it does make me feel like there is a passing of the torch. There is a responsibility change that's happening. It might mean that a parent is expecting you to take on more responsibility. It may mean that suddenly you're finding out that you're going to be a parent. It may mean that you feel like there's much more responsibility also like financially on your shoulders. It's fine. It's just about how you're communicating and processing this responsibility, and also dealing with inevitable change. Mars going direct and the sun trine Mars is definitely bringing up this theme of like, my home has changed, my family has changed, my life has changed, my resources are changing. So I think you're feeling that clear through the end of the month, to be honest with you. Really excited to see what this produces. I like all of the trines to your 7th house. I feel like it gives you the opportunity to work out communication issues with other people. I would say stay open and hear what other people's feedback is as the month progresses. And let's see what the cards say for you. And I get the Hermit. How appropriate, right? This is a card that, first of all, it's very much connected to Mercury, because this is a card that's associated with Virgo. But I think what's interesting is like, you got Mercury that's going to go retrograde in Capricorn, and Mercury is connected to your 11th house of goals. How are you able to more clearly express yourself and your goals to a partner? How can you come up with a strategy and a plan to be able to do that? When is it time to listen? When is it time to speak? And also turn within, right? Because this can be about your inner spiritual journey, inner guidance, spiritual illumination, soul searching. And after going through that process in the retrograde, what you have to share with other people in terms of what you value the most or what your plans are. I would say not everybody can read your mind, so realize that there's opportunities throughout this month to communicate and let people in on what your action plan is and what you're hoping to achieve. So don't just keep all of that to yourself, okay? Good luck. For my Sages and Sag risings, welcome to January of 2023. I hope you're doing well. Let's go ahead and get into what the month has in store. We kick off the first with a Venus-Pluto conjunction. So that's going to be happening in Capricorn. Very interesting energy. There's tons of planets in your 2nd house. Your mind is on your money. Your money's on your mind. You're reorganizing things, thinking about what you value, where you're spending, where you need to be paying things off, what you're eating. But more importantly, this is also about self-esteem. So Venus coming into conjunction with Pluto can highlight an unhealthy habit or pattern with food, work, or spending, okay? So be mindful of that. Venus-Pluto is kind of like the poison apple. It looks really good, but then when you latch onto it, you're like, ooh, this isn't so good for me. So I think it's either going to be about an eating habit, a spending habit, or a work habit, and you're going to realize that it's like you might take on too much and that it may not be best for you overall in terms of health. And you're weighing your options and you're asking yourself, is this worth how hard I'm working? Many of you guys are not just adjusting your budgets, you're also renegotiating a salary. So that could be something else that's happening in the midst of this transit. But there's still opportunities for wealth and abundance with Pluto and Venus conjunct. So I don't want to knock that. I think that you're realizing that abundance isn't just in physical form. It's also having time and having freedom, right? On the 2nd of the month, Venus enters Aquarius. So it leaves your 2nd house. It moves into your 3rd house where you're falling in love with going on a walk, reading a book, talking to a sibling. You might bring in more pleasure and opportunity through, short distance travel. You'll see that throughout the month, even more so January going into February. But Venus in the 3rd makes me feel like you're listening to self-help stuff, wellness things, reading things, maybe trying to come up with a schedule, especially if you feel like you're involved with like social media or content creation, and trying to be creative in how you're doing that, right? Better relationships with siblings and neighbors there as well. Then on the 7th, you're going to see a Sun-Mercury cazimi in Capricorn. So this is when the Sun and Mercury align in your 2nd house and there's some like epiphany or aha moment, especially in regards to what you value in relationships, because Mercury rules your 7th house of partners, business partners, clients. And Mercury rules your 10th house when it comes to career. My Sagittarius risings, getting everything in order in regards to taxes right around this time is really ideal. Don't wait until March or April to do it. Start doing it the first half of January while you have some of these positive trines to Mars. And also Mercury retrograde is going to help you make the most of your expenses and your resources and track down everything that you need to be able to file your taxes. There can also be like a opportunity for you to realize like, wow, I could partner with this person and make money in this way, or have a conversation with somebody about something that you could be initiating business-wise that could bring you more resources. On the 9th, Venus in Aquarius trines Mars in Gemini. So you've got Venus in your 3rd house, which is enjoying a good book, a good walk, maybe going and hanging out with people locally in the neighborhood. And it's in harmony with Mars in your relationship sector. So I feel like this is about you calling a friend or a romantic partner or even a sibling and being like, let's get out of town, let's go somewhere, even if it's just a short trip. It could be good for us, we could have a good time. Or somebody might be calling you and saying that to you, and I would say definitely do that, especially considering you're going to be seeing sextiles to Jupiter, and Jupiter is going to be sextiling Mars. So partners are going to be asking you to go and join them and be having fun with them and doing something in the local environment and kind of getting more active in your community. Then on the 12th, Mars goes direct in Gemini. So those of you guys Sag rising, or even some of the late Scorpio risings, those of you guys who have had Mars retrograde in your 7th, it has been kind of frustrating with relationships and partners. So definitely more intensity, more conflict with partners, feeling more pushed by partners. So that's going to calm down with Mars going direct. Mars rules children, romance, and having fun. It also rules the subconscious. So for many Sag risings, there's been a lot of working out subconscious issues relating to your heart space, your inner child, previous relationship drama in current relationships. And that's finally going to kind of calm down. Now, I also feel like this is going to take some time because Mars has to wake up and it has to come out of the square that it's going to be with Neptune until about March. So yes, the retrograde's over. So if you guys are waiting to get married, plan a wedding, get engaged, start a business partnership, move in with somebody, it's easier to do after Mars goes direct, but that energy is going to linger until about March. So you've been warned. On the 14th, Venus in Aquarius squares Uranus in Taurus. So Venus is now in your 3rd house, squaring off with Uranus. And to me, it seems like either opportunities for travel plans or relationships with a sibling or some kind of communication within the workspace. It's just going haywire. It's much more difficult to ask for help. It's much more difficult also to get assistance. So be mindful of that day, especially relating to like health. There can be some health issues relating to the mind. So mental stress, or sometimes breathing stuff can come up when you see squares from the 3rd house to the 6th house as well. Breath work, going for walks, meditating, this will be really helpful, but definitely some issues with communication will come across this day. That's because it's in your 3rd house. Okay, so then we have on the 18th, Mercury goes direct in Capricorn. So this is good because the Mercury retrograde is technically over. So any limitations with finances, any missing money, any delayed funds, anything in regards to self-doubt or not believing in yourself is going to start to ease up and clear out. That's the good news. Mercury, once again, has to do with your career and your goals out in the world and your responsibility and also your relationships. So a lot of you guys have been asking yourself, do I feel valued? Am I worth more than what I'm getting paid? Is it time to raise my prices? Do I still hold on to this relationship? Do I let this person go? And it's physical, right? Because it's 2nd house and also it relates to business. So I think it's about you guys realizing that you deserve more, you're worth more, you're capable of achieving more, and the retrograde is going to help you kind of put that in motion. So for some of you guys who are self-employed, I could see moving forward from the 2nd half of January on, negotiating, either salaries or joint business relationships and what you're getting out of it, or possibly even raising your prices, okay? Also, spending money, bigger budget items, things like that, it's going to be much easier to do after this point on the 18th. One thing I want to note though is that the Sun and Pluto will come into conjunction. So it does seem to suggest that the bigger picture in regards to money and resources is becoming clear. Some of you guys may have to drop a lump sum of money for travel or education or for legal stuff. The Sun Pluto thing you want to watch for. I mean, I think that can bring you opportunities for more wealth, but at the same time, it's also going to be how are you redefining wealth? Is it a physical thing, or is it a state of being? Is it having freedom? Is it having health? Is it having a relationship? It's going to be different for every person. On the 20th, we see the sun enter into the sign of Aquarius. So it leaves your second house of money and resources. It goes into your third house, which is about the mind, communication, walking around, talking to siblings, going for drives, working with gadgets, writing things, listening to podcasts. It can multitask, right? So there's going to be more of this energy for the next month. Briefly, as planets go through this sign, we will see the reactivation of squares to the nodes. So it's trying to bring up the theme of communicate. When in doubt, sound it out, speak it out, write it out, pick up the phone and call a friend who can kind of help you work through some of that stuff. On the 23rd, Venus in Aquarius conjunct Saturn in Aquarius. So we are going to have a crystallization of Venus and Saturn. So you're committing more seriously, I think, to investing in yourself, learning something. You may finally make a purchase like a car, or you might buy a new phone or a laptop or a gadget. There can also be a sense of you really telling someone how you feel about them, writing them a letter, or also just investing more in your mental health, right? Because Venus is about health. Now on the 26th, we see Venus then enter the sign of Pisces. So it leaves Aquarius, it goes into Pisces in your natal fourth house. This is great for decorating your home. This is great for bringing in art. This is great for planning a pool, or anything in regards to just like Zen, you know, like finding more peace in your home, you know, playing temple music or meditating, or getting like a new meditation pillow, or just something that also can do with like screens and lighting. So for some of you guys, it's like, do we splurge and get the new TV? You know, do we decide to take out money and build a swimming pool? And it can also be about sweeter relations with people in the home zone. So female relatives, female roommates, having, you know, people come and stay and help you redecorate your home or reorganize your home, or even cleaning your home. That could be something else that you're doing, like spiritual blessings for the home, or maybe some of you guys will feng shui your place. And then finally on the 29th, the sun in Aquarius will trine Mars in Gemini. So the sun in your third house trine Mars. So you're feeling really excited and optimistic and eager to share something or teach something to someone else, or write to someone else, call to someone else, travel with someone else. It's a very active day. And I like the fact that it trines Mars and it also sextiles your ascendant, because it tells me that you're ready to kind of share what you've learned with other people, and bring people together in the process. So that'll be a day where I think you're going to see quite a bit of action and an alignment with your goals. For the most part, I would say, you know, Sagittarians, just be mindful of your value system and your resources this month, okay? There is a need to kind of slow the roll when it comes to spending, and really wait until after the 18th to make any big purchases. Mars going direct is great, because I think that you're going to have the ability to have more clarity when it comes to where your relationships are going. And now that Jupiter is in your fifth house, you're more focused on having fun, creativity, being in love, romance, having a good time, being able to feel more daring when it comes to your creative process. Let's see what the cards say for you. And I get, of course, the 10 of Cups. The 10 of Cups, bliss, happiness, joy, completion, divine love, relationships, alignment, family support, domestic joy, emotional stability. I don't know if it's because it's Jupiter in your fifth and you're just like really feeling the love and you're feeling yourself and you're having a good time, or if it's that you have Venus going through your fourth, bringing you the blessing and joys of relationships, and also being able to have peace and harmony within the home life and the family. I feel like this is also just about everything that you've been working hard to achieve is finally coming full circle. And I think you're really going to see that also as Saturn goes into your fourth house here soon over the next couple of months. You're finally wrapping up Saturn in Aquarius. And as it moves into your 4th house, you focus on home, family values, relationships, kind of getting grounded and being able to focus on the more important things in life. So some of you guys might actually feel like this energy is pushing you to work through some of your issues that you had with relationships with others and with your family, so you can have more stability and long-term planning. Good luck, my Saggies. My Capricorns and Capricorn risings, how's it going? Welcome to January 2023. If you are having a January birthday, happy birthday to you. I hope it's a good one. There are so many planets in Capricorn. It's like a damn Capricorn party in the skies. It's just like raining. It's raining goats out there. So a lot of this is going to be, you're going to feel this energy very, very strongly for the next few weeks. The month kicks off with Venus and Pluto in conjunction in Capricorn in your 1st house. So on one hand, Venus in your 1st house is very alluring. It is sexy. It is beautiful. It is attractive. It is warm. The sun is there as well. And we're seeing as Venus comes into conjunction with Pluto, there is a sense of powerful change and transformation within oneself. So you're maybe embracing a new version of yourself. You've gone through so many changes since 2008 of having, Pluto in your sign. Maybe you're coming to terms with a new and improved version of you, which may be older and more mature. Some of you guys are embracing the gray streaks and the fine lines and the wrinkles and all that stuff, and you're learning to love yourself for who you are. Some of you guys are like, hell no, give me the Botox. Just be careful with Mercury retrograde in your 1st house. Don't do anything crazy. Just take your time. And know that the Venus-Pluto is, I think, about getting more passionate and inspired when it comes to your goals and wanting to feel like you can achieve something. But really, really, really radical ways of expressing self-love and self-focus is really important. And maybe it's just like a sexier side that's coming out with that conjunction. Then on the 2nd, we're going to see Venus enter into Aquarius. So it's going to finally leave, having been in your sign, and move to the 2nd house, where it's quite happy, actually. There's focus on material resources and bringing in more abundance and being able to feel more solid and secure. There's lots of changes coming for you in terms of your finances. I can see that because Saturn's going to be leaving your 2nd house soon. I can see that because Pluto's coming into your 2nd house soon. So the next month or so is going to be really important when it comes to looking at your material gains, how you're spending money, what you possess, what you own, right? What is important to you and what you value. Venus has connections to your 5th house of children and love, as well as your 10th house. So some of you guys might be kind of like, can I make money through some kind of creative endeavor? And also something about your values and your creative process, or children or lovers, is going to come up as well. On the 7th, Sun-Mercury Cazimi takes place in the sign of Capricorn, and this marks the halfway point through the Mercury retrograde, which is, yes, in your sign. So some of you guys have been feeling a little tongue-tied, feeling like it's difficult to communicate and share with other people what's on your mind and what you're thinking. But I would say for the most part, this is when you have that epiphany aha moment, especially when it comes to solving a problem or being able to organize, clean something, or get rid of a bad habit or remedy a health issue. My Capricorn risings, Mercury retrograde in your 1st house, Mars retrograde in your 6th. A lot of you guys are working so hard, you're making yourself sick. A lot of you guys are also coping with long-term illness and trying to figure out how to get back to work. Some of you guys are realizing that there's some bad habits and bad patterns that you just have to let go of and do away with. Please pay attention to your health in the midst of some of these retrogrades. And on the 7th, there can be an epiphany about getting some clarity when it comes to your health issues in general. On the 9th of the month, Venus in Aquarius trines Mars in Gemini. So Venus is in your 2nd house. It trines Mars. This makes me feel like you have help and assistance or solutions with your health, and it's going to come under the guise of making dietary changes or supplement changes. Equally, if you need some support or some assistance with getting something cleaned up, organized, if you need an assistant, if you're needing to get somebody to help you with your financial matters, help can very much be on the way, and that is very possible with that trine. Then on the 12th of the month, Mars goes direct in Gemini. So it's been several long months of Mars being retrograde in your 6th house. Some of you guys have been delaying going to work, delaying working on problems or habits. Some of you guys have been working 2 jobs. Maybe there's been more frustration and limitations with being able to get ahead when it comes to your health or organization skills. So on the back end, sometimes Mercury or Mars retrograde really slaps any retrograde. So if you've been delaying organizing your kitchen, if you've been delaying going to the doctor, if you've been delaying finally quitting smoking, whatever, you might find that as Mars is going direct, you're like, okay, it's time for me to really make that change. And if there's been a slowness or a limitation with jobs or getting work, that will clear up for you as well. On the 14th, Venus in Aquarius squares Uranus and Taurus. Some interesting mutual reception stuff going there. Venus in the 2nd house wants pleasure, it wants to make money, it wants food, it wants resources, and it's pressuring Uranus in the 5th house to make those changes. For some of you guys, it's, you know, big risk, big reward. I'm not going to encourage you to gamble or invest your money, but I could see a situation where you're like, I have this lump sum, or I inherited this thing, or I have this opportunity, I'm going to give it a shot. Let me see if I can do it. The 2nd house is also about developing talent, developing skills. So you might be investing time, energy, money, resources in developing skills that might pay off down the road, especially if you're learning more about investment strategy or the markets in general, or trading anything in regards to crypto. That can definitely come up with some of these transits. Watch for conflict though over values, especially like preferences in food with children, or preferences in how you spend money and what you value versus a romantic partner which may not agree with you on some level. On the 18th of the month, Mercury goes direct in Capricorn. So the Mercury retrograde ends in your sign. You might start feeling, you know, things ease up. You can communicate better. You're feeling better. If you've been having a health-related issue, or you're feeling like you're capable of getting back to work. That same day, the Sun in Capricorn comes in conjunction with Pluto. This is the day I want you to watch, because not only do we have Mercury going direct, but we also have the Sun-Pluto conjunction, which represents like the death and the rebirth of a new version of you. The Sun rules your 8th house of transformation, okay? Pluto rules your goals. So you may realize that through some kind of like health-related issue, or issue at work, or limitation or delay, you're like, okay, it actually brought me to this realization that I want to change or transform XYZ about myself. Equally, you might gain some kind of clarity in regards to what you're afraid of, where your bad habits are coming from. If you have some self-sabotaging tendencies, you're going to like see it and go, oh, I need to change this. It's important, if you do see it, to recognize it, because this is the last conjunction you're going to see before Pluto goes into Aquarius. So it's trying to get you to really fully transform, show up, and be serious about changing something about your goals. On the 20th, we are then going to see the Sun enter into Aquarius. So it's highlighting for the next 3 weeks your 2nd house of money, resources, values, and self-esteem. Can be like a strong period of getting ready to develop more money, bring in more money, and also feel like you just have a lot more financial security or spending power in general. As it does that, you're going to see, you know, the Sun coming into harmony with Mars, and it will be approaching Saturn. That won't be until next month. But as it's coming into that conjunction, it's like something serious. You're committing to some serious goal, or you're really committed to rebuilding your self-esteem in some way. But for the most part, the Sun there is just highlighting like what you possess and what you value, and how you're changing the way that you look at those values. On the 23rd, Venus comes into conjunction with Saturn, which is important because Saturn rules your chart. So to me, it seems like there's like a serious commitment in regards to responsibility, job, money, and resources. And Venus rules your 5th house of children, and it also rules your 10th house of responsibility. So themes regarding spending money on children, investing money in the market, investing money in a creative project, and things relating to money and finances and father figures might be a theme here as well. Then on the 26th, Venus enters Pisces. So it leaves Aquarius, it goes into its exaltation of Pisces in the 3rd house, which is nice. It is going to be bringing more sweetness to your communication. Some of you guys might spruce up a car. Maybe you're looking for a new place to live. Other people are going to be focusing more on having meetings and establishing relationships and partnerships with other people, because Venus has connections to the 10th. Now, when Venus goes through your 3rd house, you find more pleasure in daily activities. So I would say get into the habit of sending thank you emails, or possibly, having phone calls to female relatives and catching up with them can be wonderful ways to kind of initiate that energy. Then on the 29th of the month, the Sun in Aquarius, which will be in your 2nd house, will come into a trine with Mars in your 6th house, which will also be direct at that time. So you have the 2nd house Sun, which is like what you're producing, what you're building, what you're accumulating, putting forth energy into making changes in your daily routine. I feel like this is about building consistently forward financially. I feel like this is also going to be about making changes in your health relating to your diet. This is also going to be about building on the self-esteem and making sure that's solid, so that way you can kind of stay active and keep moving forward with some of your goals, right? So there's a complete change and a reworking, reorganization, re-strategizing happening with this retrograde in your sign, and it's all to help you kind of build stronger as you're coming into Aquarius season later in the month. It can feel a little discombobulated this month though, Capricorn. So give yourself a little bit of space. Realize that things are going to kind of settle out a little more after that new moon that we're going to be having in Aquarius later in the month. And that's when the energies start to really align for you. Okay, let's take a look and see what the cards have to say. And the card that I get is the Chariot. Kind of cool, because this is a card that is connected to your home life. It sometimes talks about your family or your car or just where you're heading in general. Action, success, movement, willpower, determination, working towards a goal. I definitely see that for you. I feel like you're realizing that it's all about organization and structure, and that you need to like be consistent, be on time, that you need to restructure something about your daily routine to be able to facilitate making this work. What's cool about the Chariot is there's 2 sphinxes, right? There's a black horse and a white horse, and one is kind of consistent and steadfast, and he's kind of going at an even pace, and he's not all over the place. There's another horse that's just like, you can't keep him on the reins. So you have to find a way to kind of organize your daily routine, or get your sphinxes in a row so you feel like you can be the most productive. And I feel like a lot of this is about you learning to listen to your body. When the Sun and Pluto come into conjunction, I think that's going to be the final turning point, where you realize that there are certain things you have to let go of to be able to kind of like let life happen. Big energies for you as Saturn changes signs, and also Pluto changes signs in the spring. So really focus on your values, what you value the most. Be focused on building stability, building security. And if you're starting to feel run down, it's a sign that you need to take a step back and really give yourself the much needed break that you have been needing to kind of get these ducks in a row, okay? Good luck and happy birthday. For my Aquarius and Aquarius risings, welcome to January of 2023. I am very excited to talk to you about what is coming up the month ahead. Those of you guys who are having your birthday in January, happy birthday. I hope it's a good one. There is a lot going on in the skies for you. So I want to preface this by saying, and I say this every month to each and every one of the 12 signs, but when we are approaching your birthday, okay, so when we're coming up to your birthday, or if you're an Aquarius rising, as planets are moving through Capricorn, there is a ton of planets that are 12th house to your sun, moon, or rising, which basically can feel like a cosmic clearing. Something's clearing out. So between a stellium of planets in Capricorn in your 12th, a retrograde in your 12th, Pluto's in your 12th, there is this sense of like, you can get very anxious, you can get fearful, you can get overwhelmed, or you can get really spiritual, really quiet, and connect in nature, okay? So obviously we want to go for the latter, otherwise there's going to be some sleepless nights. The month kicks off January 1st with Venus and Pluto coming into conjunction in Capricorn. Pluto rules your responsibility, your roles in the world. Venus rules your family, and it also rules your beliefs. So it's pretty safe to say with the Venus-Pluto conjunction and the Mercury retrograde, you're feeling in your head a little bit about what's your responsibility and what's not. You know, if you're a parent, regardless of how old your kids are, there can definitely be some stress or stressors coming up about, you know, am I a good enough parent? What can I do? You know, have I made a mistake? Have I steered them wrong? Am I ready to be a parent? There can also be this feeling of just being totally swamped and overwhelmed and in your head about a creative project or a romantic partnership. But Venus-Pluto together is a very intense feeling, and in the 12th house is behind the scenes. So it's like, it's not likely that you're going to tell people how anxious you are about this thing or how much you're preparing or how much you're working through behind the scenes in regards to your emotions when it comes to your career or your family. On the 2nd, Venus moves into your sign. So it's really great for Aquarius risings. Because Venus is going to sit on your ascendant, so it's bringing more beauty, harmony, and attractiveness to you. Take some photos. You're going to notice you're going to get more compliments. You're just going to have people who are just noticing you more and appreciating you more. But it's also a time to really focus on self-love and self-care. Now, Venus rules, like I said, your family and also your goals. So maybe you're treating yourself to a trip. Maybe you're learning more about your family heritage and you're researching your background and where your family came from. Then on the 7th, we are going to be seeing a Sun-Mercury cazimi in Capricorn. So this is when the Sun and Mercury are conjunct and Mercury is ahead of the Sun. So Mercury ruling secrets, joint resources, your 5th house also of children. It's almost like there is some epiphany that you have about a creative project or about one of your children or possibly even about your creative process. And you know, I've seen Mercury retrogrades in the 12th always produce really, really significant dreams. So I would say like keep a journal or a notebook near your bed. You may have some insights in the middle of the night. You might have it first thing in the morning. There can also be you suddenly getting calls, you know, from, you know, one of your children or one of your creative partners or one of your lovers. And you're hashing something out that you weren't aware of that was going on. So secrets can be exposed during this conjunction as well. You have the opportunity, though, to have some really interesting either spiritual or even paranormal interactions. And so I'd say just be mindful if a loved one comes to you in a dream or if you're just like picking something up psychically. It can be really important for you to be aware of because it can be, you know, a message that's trying to get to you from the other side. On the 9th, Venus in Aquarius trines Mars in Gemini. So Venus on your ascendant has you passionate and it has you feeling like you just want affection, you want love, you want to share with other people, you're feeling yourself. And it might make you a little frisky. It might make you willing to, you know, kind of pursue or go after who or what it is that you want. There is like a zest for life and more of an interest in taking chances, being rebellious, having fun, having a good time, dating, playing games. So seeing Venus and Mars in positive aspect like this is really great. Then on the 12th of the month, we are going to see that Mars is going to go direct. So after several long months of Mars retrograde in Gemini in your 5th house, if you're a writer, a creative, if you are a parent, if you are somebody who has been toying with the idea of launching a business, any of these things could apply, but there's been some delays. So when Mars goes retrograde in the 5th, we have challenges in Gemini communicating and expressing what makes us happy. Or if we're working on creative projects, there's been like maybe a bit of writer's block or not being able to consistently work on things. And this is going to kind of lighten up a little bit as soon as Mars goes direct in Gemini. Now that shadow period will hang around until closer to the beginning of March, but still this is time to get active when it comes to what you're passionate about and what you love the most. And for some of you guys, you might notice that there's going to be an improvement in your sex drive. On the 14th of the month, Venus in Aquarius squares Uranus in Taurus. So Venus in your sign is really great because it's like what you need, what you find pleasurable, but the squares to Uranus is like an intolerance that you have at home or an intolerance that you have with a family member, or you're getting frustrated and being like, I don't like this. I don't want it this way. You know, I don't want this ugly couch in my house. I don't want to share space with another person. And it's rehashing and very reminiscent of the Saturn-Uranus squares that we've had for 2 years. So many Aquarius risings have found themselves a little bit at odds with their family or a little bit kind of torn because there's this need for freedom and boundaries and defining yourself and making your own way. And then there's all like the friction that kind of comes up with Uranus in your 4th house, where roommates, partners, you know, family members, they don't respond very well to things. But because Venus is in a superior position, it's basically saying like you're kind of running the show. So if you're like, I don't like this, I don't want this, I don't like the way this looks, this doesn't work for me, you are applying that to your family or to your children or to your roommates, and kind of telling them what's up. Watch for disrupting relationships though. Venus square Uranus definitely will bring that up, and through your needs and reestablishing your needs, it can definitely upset the apple cart. On the 18th of the month, Mercury goes direct in Capricorn, so it ends the Mercury retrograde in your 12th house. So you might start to notice as Mercury is waking up in the days to follow, there's less anxiety, less sleepless nights. However, we are going to see that the day that it goes direct, the Sun and Pluto come into conjunction. And to me, it seems like this is a day where you might receive some very insightful perspective from another person. It can be a romantic partner, it can be a spouse, it can be a therapist, it can be a reader, an astrologer, somebody who highlights and shows you your blind spots, and where you weren't quite aware of something, and somebody can give you some kind of constructive criticism on where you can be a better partner, where you can communicate better, and open up a little bit more. And they're doing this to kind of help you. Then on the 20th, the Sun enters into Aquarius. So the Sun's crossing into your sign, bringing you more vitality, more energy, and you're just being seen more. It will take until, you know, the Sun and Mercury, I think, are in your 1st house for you to be feeling like you can kind of come out of that retrograde kind of doom. But I feel like for the most part, like you're showing up, you're more visible, even though Mercury retrograde is you being like, yeah, behind the scenes, I'm still kind of anxious, but you know, you're putting on your happy face. It will get easier once the Sun is in your sign. And I can feel like this is time where people are coming and like wanting to partner with you and wanting to support you. So stay open to that, because the Sun rules your 7th house. People want to help you in some way or be around you. On the 23rd, Venus in Aquarius conjunct Saturn in Aquarius. So a commitment to oneself, right? Buying yourself something to remind yourself of your goals, your belief systems, reminding yourself you are home, you are your family, you are your best friend, your best lover, your best partner. This has been a long road with Saturn in your sign, and I think that Venus coming into conjunction with Saturn can also be about self-love, self-acceptance, even if that means that you have to go your own way and that you're parting ways with people from the past or family members or old versions of yourself to be able to better embrace the new. And I think you're learning that part of self-love is about initiating boundaries and having boundaries, because it is necessary for you to have a peace of mind, right? On the 26th, then Venus leaves your sign of Aquarius. It goes into Pisces in your 2nd house. Venus is very happy in the 2nd house, and it's going to be exalted in Pisces, which means it's extra powerful. And this is a time where there is more opportunities for indulgence, bringing in more resources, spending more money on food, clothes, home items, and also just like your spending power in general. So it can be just like a nice period financially for you. Venus has connections to obviously your home and family, but also your 9th house. So dealings with home and property, especially with places that you own in other cities, other countries. It can be also a time where you have to spend a little money to kind of finalize something legally, especially when it comes to an estate or home values or properties of some kind. And I like that Venus is going to come into the 2nd house and start sextiling the North Node in Uranus. So you're really investing in yourself and you're feeling solid financially. And then finally on the 29th, we're going to see the Sun in Aquarius trine Mars in Gemini. So the Sun in your 1st house, lighting up your own personal energy and vitality, trining Mars, which will be direct in the 5th house, where you're like, I need to have fun, I need adventure, I need to do what's best for me. I mean, it's really great. I feel like the storm clouds kind of clear right around like the 18th, 19th, and the 20th, and you realize that whatever you had to kind of clear out, whatever fears that you had, whatever old patterns that you had, it's all getting shaken out so you can embrace this new life, this new version of you. You might look differently, you might act differently, And you're also preparing for Pluto to come into your sign. So you're coming into your personal power one way or another. The question is are you going to do it because you're forced to do it, or are you going to do it gracefully and recognize that it's time to kind of cut ties and part ways with people from your past, especially people that are in your family or who you've lived with or roommates, because you need more space, or you need people to kind of respect what direction you're going in. So it can kind of feel uncomfortable at first, but then you're going to realize that it's not so bad and that change can be good. Let's take a look and see what the cards have to say for you for the month ahead. And the card that I get is, ooh, I like this, the King of Wands. King of Wands. So powerful energy. This is a fire energy. So it can be saying that you're channeling this, or that you come into contact with an Aries, a Sag, or maybe a Leo. Natural born leader, vision, bold, daring, charming, entrepreneur, taking control, and optimism. So I love this because this is so true. Planets in Aquarius, sextile Jupiter in the 3rd house. You're feeling very direct, and you're feeling very open and honest, and confident is the word that I would use in the decisions that you're making and how you're communicating and what you're writing, what you have to say, and also just kind of getting the show on the road. Kings always master an energy in some way. So whether this is somebody who you have a conversation with who inspires you to do this, or you're just channeling more of that King of Wands energy where you're like, we got to keep things moving. Let's not get stagnant. Let's not slow down. You might have to give yourself a few pep talks and kind of like, you know, push yourself along. But for the most part, I see this as being a really positive period where you're getting ready to embrace a new phase for your life. Good luck and have a happy birthday. And finally, we have my Pisces and Pisces rising. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Welcome to January of 2023. I'm excited to see what this month has in store. We kick it off first with Venus and Pluto coming into conjunction with each other in the sign of Capricorn in your natal 11th house. Now, the 11th house is about friends, networking, associations, socializing, events, parties, and your goals. So for Venus and Pluto to come into conjunction here, it tells me you might meet a very powerful woman, or there may be a very powerful introduction or association or connection that you're going to be having. She might be culturally different, a foreigner. She might be an attorney. She might be a teacher or a mentor, somebody who you just meet. Equally, there can be a little bit of like a intoxicating, alluring situation where a friend wants to set you up with somebody if you're single, or there can be like a bit of like a lover's triangle situation with a friend where somebody who you're socially kind of connected to wants to be more than friends with that Venus-Pluto conjunction. On the 2nd, Venus then enters into Aquarius, and it goes into the 12th house where it's like more secretive and kind of sexy and hidden and private. So this can be really great for bed pleasures. It can be great for just having like lots of like romantic date nights where you're just hanging out in bed and watching movies. But it also can be about connecting to the goddess and sacrifice and the arts and anything that's divine and things that are more kind of abstract and futuristic in the sign of Aquarius. You might be reading books on that stuff. You might be watching TV shows on that stuff, and it might just be something that you're very interested in general. On the 7th, we're going to see a Sun-Mercury cazimi taking place in the sign of Capricorn, once again back in your 11th house. So Mercury rules relationships and partnerships or clients. It also rules the past. Some of you guys, through a social setting, you might run into an ex, or you might have a friend ask about an ex, or you might have somebody from the past who you either worked with, who you were friends with, or who you dated try to add you on social media. And it might be because they're kind of snooping around or they're lurking around a little bit, so just be mindful. When Mercury goes retrograde and you have the cazimi here, it represents, I think, more so reconnecting with someone who you used to work with, honestly. But yeah, you know, exes can come back as well. But it can be positive because there's opportunities to network and kind of be like, well, what are you doing? And what do you got going on? And like, let's reconnect. So if you're looking to kind of really expand your professional horizons, it can be good in that sense. But what was lost can return, or what, almost like who you haven't connected with in some time can return, and you can have an important conversation. So I would watch for that. On the 9th, Venus in Aquarius will trine Mars in Gemini. So you've got Venus here in your 12th house, which is kind of hidden and sexy, trining Mars in your 4th house, which is about changes and transformations in regard to the past and your home. So it's very likely that you're going back and forth with somebody about talking about what's happened in past relationships, what's happened within your family, whether or not you're open to moving, you know, setting up a house with another person, and you're communicating and sharing, because this is in the element of air, your feelings and your emotions, and also your fears of being able to move forward as well. So that's something else to be mindful of. But when Venus and Mars are in harmony, it's positive. So I could also see this as, because Venus rules documents, mergers, and also legal stuff, it's like you're trying to connect with somebody who physically lives in another place, and you have to kind of do that either legally, or you're waiting for some kind of documents or passports or things to come through so you can be with them. And maybe when the Sun and Venus are in your 12th house, you can travel and connect with that person. On the 12th, Mars goes direct in Gemini. So for Pisces and Pisces risings especially, this Mars retrograde has been quite wild, because there's a lot of like not knowing where you're going to land. You're living in one place and you're planning on living in another place, or you're going to sell and then that got delayed, or you were developing a property and then, you know, it got stalled. There's been lots of setbacks or challenges with family, or issues being able to find peace within the home. So Mars going direct is going to help you remedy that. So you're going to be able to kind of have much more of a sense of assertiveness and direction when it comes to where you're going to be living. If you've been kind of living in limbo or temporarily, you might see improvement right around the time it goes direct. But keep in mind, it's going to be in the shadow period really until closer to the beginning of March. So kind of leaving things open-ended and not really making a decision probably until closer to Pisces season is going to be better. But for the most part, you're going to have more clarity about, you know, making a decision and making a choice and executing that in the spring. Then on the 14th, we're going to see Venus in Aquarius square Uranus in Taurus. So Venus in your 12th house square Uranus in the 3rd house makes me feel like there's lots of static with communication. There can be a sense of learning to kind of grieve and let something go, and you're journaling or you're writing or you're talking about endings and how that's affecting your mind, or how that's affecting just your communication style in general. It's interesting to watch all these planets in Capricorn trine your 3rd house, Uranus and North Node transit. So I'm feeling like there's lots of support from friends that can help you if you're experiencing grief or letting go or loss of some kind. So leaning on your friends is really important. Then we are going to see that on the 18th of the month, Mercury goes direct in Capricorn. So this means that the Mercury retrograde is technically over, although the shadow will hang around for a little while. If there's been squabbles, miscommunications with friends, if there has been disconnections with social media, if you have taken a hiatus from social media, you may then decide if you're coming back. If you're waiting to get some kind of acceptance into a group or a collaboration, or if you've been going back and forth in team meetings and trying to strategize, you're going to finally start to kind of get the full effect once Mercury goes direct, and you're going to be able to kind of work much more strongly with a group of people because it's in your 11th house. However, the day that it goes direct, it will conjunct, Pluto will conjunct the Sun. So coworkers and health or schedule and Pluto, the bigger picture. So you might realize like there's some people who you're collaborating with at work that's just like not pulling their weight. There's some people at work who are just really genuinely not supportive, or they're not your friends, unfortunately. It can also be a time where you realize that, you know, it's time to kind of cut ties with certain friendships, especially if they're not really supporting the person who you're becoming. That is very possible. On the 20th, the Sun enters into Aquarius. You come into that period of time before your birthday where there is the cosmic clearing. So both you and Aquarius are experiencing that this month. I think having the Sun go into your 12th house is about rest, healing, recuperation. You want to be careful here because it does deal with health. So going to health centers or spas, retreat centers, mental health facilities, hospitals, jail, you know, you name it. But I think for the most part, it's going to be about you guys needing to rest and recuperate and taking care of your health and really having a little bit of downtime. You will just notice that end of January going into February, you're going to need more peace, serenity, alone time. So some of you guys are looking to travel by yourselves. You're looking to go to a retreat by yourselves. because you're getting ready to feel the effects of Saturn coming into your sign, where you're ready for a fresh start, you're ready for a new beginning. So honor that throughout the next month or two. If you're like, I need a break, I need to check out for a week or two, or I need to go and be on a remote island for a month, whatever you got to do. These are things that will give you that peace and that clarity to be able to prepare for a new phase that's going to be starting in 2023. What I like is that right after this happens, Venus and Saturn come into conjunction. So there can be like a woman you meet that helps you heal. There can be a breakthrough that you have in communicating with a sibling. You may commit to like a new therapist. You might go to a healing center. It can be a time where I would really encourage you to consider meditation, past life regression, energy healing, even hypnotherapy, anything that can help you get that peace of mind and find spiritual kind of oneness and clarity. So going to a retreat center can be really wonderful to help you be able to achieve that. On the 26th, Venus enters into Pisces. So Venus will cross your ascendant if you're a Pisces rising, bringing you more love, abundance, and also just new energy, vitality. You're going to see that with Venus crossing your ascendant, you're going to have much more peace and calm and love and harmony. It's also great for attraction. So a lot more people are going to notice you and possibly compliment how you're looking. You might pay more special attention to just your appearance. Wonderful time for updates in, cosmetics or hair or clothes, or, just taking a picture and refreshing your user image, because you're going to be blessed with the blessings of Venus in your sign. And then on the 29th, we see the Sun in Aquarius come into a trine with Mars. So Sun in the 12th house, healing something in regards to the heart or the heart space, or physically something in regards to your cardio. Trining Mars in the 4th house is going to be about like healing through travel, healing through talking to a guru, healing through talking to a professional. You're having air trines and water houses. So you're having to communicate and talk about endings and what that means, and where you're letting something go, and how that's changing your home, your mind, or perhaps even your relationship with your family. But for the most part, that trine that you're going to be experiencing is releasing and letting something go. So it can be really important to release and let things go, especially if it's bad habits. So if you have to go to a treatment center, or if you need to go to a hypnotherapist to quit smoking, these are things that can be really positive, and it can really kind of help amplify your well-being if you're willing to embrace that. So let's see what the cards have to say for you, Pisces, for the month ahead. And the card that I get is, oh, how wonderful, the King of Cups. Really cool. So obviously water sign energy. So this is a card for Pisces, Cancer, or Scorpio. This can be you channeling the much more masculine side of just being protective of your emotions, being protective of your energy, right? Of your feelings. But it can represent a man coming in, somebody who's devoted and mature and balanced, supportive, compassionate, empathic. Somebody who is just understanding and really generous with their connection, like emotionally. Like they want to be around you. They ask how you're doing. They want to know if you're okay. Intuitively, I really wonder if this is going to be like healers and other people and empaths coming into your life that are here to kind of help you through this transition. Because all these planets are in your 12th house and they're trining out to your 4th, you guys are having to say goodbye to someone or something that you love. And it's not necessarily through loss, but it's like moving on. You're on to a bigger job. You're on to a bigger house. You're on to a better relationship. And you're having to learn to let things go. And so I think it's important to pay attention to the people who are there to support you emotionally. I think it's important to be transparent and honest if you're having a difficult time. I think it's also really important for you guys to be seeking out people who can help you through this process of learning how to find, I think, more emotional support, being able to kind of empower yourself and realize that it's okay to have emotions, it's okay to have feelings, that it's part of the process of learning vulnerability. So look for that King of Cups that might pop in. It can bring romance and relationships as well. That is very possible, but likely with Venus in the 12th house, the first part of the month, it's going to be a little bit private, okay? So that is all I have for you guys for the month of January 2023. I hope it is a happy new year for everyone. I'm excited to see what the new year brings all of us. Obviously, if you like my content, please do give me a comment. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Give me a thumbs up. It really helps the algorithm. We've seen so much growth in the channel over the last year. Let's keep it going. And if you are wanting to know more about the astrology of 2023, join me on New Year's Day. I'm going to be dropping the link soon, letting you guys know what I'm going to be presenting. I'm putting together a whole slideshow. So if you've seen some of my webinars, if you've seen my Mars retrograde, or any of the other things that I've done, it's going to be very similar in terms of its format. So we're going to go through the Wheel of the Year spread. We're going to talk about all the big changes, the eclipses, the retrogrades, and how it's going to affect each and every one of the 12 signs. So please come and spend New Year's Day with me. I'd love to celebrate with you. Until next time, I'll see all of you guys in February. So enjoy the month ahead. Take care, and I'll see you very soon.